Back in here with me. Here you go, Birdie. Out. If you want out. Birdie's still in here. Birdie. What's going on, everybody? Cali Death Podcast back once again, episode 146. It has been a chaotic night, but we made it happen. I'm the latest one tonight. I'm sorry about that, guys. I am joined by some resident homies. We are missing Casey and Joseph tonight. They're globe trotting somewhere, having
Japan
fun
and Germany or something. Yeah.
It's crazy, but we got a killer fill-in as a resident homie tonight. We got Geare in the house.
What's going on, fellas?
Yeah, dude. Glad to have you, brother. Had always somebody that I love doing podcasts with, and it's always a great time when you're on. And we decided to do something different tonight because Casey and Joseph were traveling. We were trying to come up with ideas, and actually Carrie was with me last weekend up in Rockland, and we're brainstorming, and I was like, hey, dude, we talk about your brothers that are writing and making movies. I watched the movie. You guys have seen the movie too. Why not branch out a little bit on this thing and talk to some guys outside of music, which I know we're going to end up getting into music too, because I know some backstories with Darren, your son, right? He's a shredder.
My son is a shredder, yes. And Jeff and I
both
have a musical past ourselves and both still do music. And so, yeah, a lot of music.
Dude. So I want to get into what it was like growing up in the Geare household, and also what's cool about you guys is, and Jeff, backstory as well. I know that you're not a true Geare, but you are part of the Geare brothers, dude.
I'm like a Ramon, like.
He's a Ramon Geare.
Yeah. I can't remember which Ramon wasn't a Ramon, but it was all but one.
There were no real Ramones at the end.
There was no real Ramon.
I know that, yeah.
Yeah, we're all gears at the end of the day, dude. It's just a whole podcast full of gears at this point.
That's all.
Anthony Geare.
Grind my gears. You guys can grind my gears all night. No, but for real, this is really cool, dude. I'm excited about this. From being a writer, I'd like to hear what it's like to be a writer in a different perspective, from a different perspective. I'm more poetic and blah, 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 blah. You guys really open up worlds and shit like that. So I want to get into all of that. But first we got to do some plugs and shit. But yeah, Darren and Jeff are with us tonight. I didn't say your guys' name, but yeah. Thank you so much for giving us your time.
Yeah, good to be here.
Thanks for having us, guys. We're so happy to be here.
Hell yeah, dude. We got death metal and horror movie conversations that we can have, dude. I'm so excited about tonight.
Let's run through the plugs kind of quick.
Yeah, battleforgecoffee.com, the homies and deeds of flesh. Mike's Exhumed is Exhumed with no. They're not on tour right now. They just got back. Mike actually is not on that tour. He was at home, but the homie, I shouldn't have brought that up. I'm forgetting names now. Sorry, dude. CaliDeathPodcast.BigCartel.com. Buy a shirt, 2 shirts from us. I smoked a couple bowls before this. So I'm high right now.
Hey man, you'll use red ended.
And I'll be smoking more soon. GeneratorRehearsalStudios.com. That's SoCal rehearsal spot that you should be going to and supporting. They got a place for you, and that's all of them. Let's plug the Retaliators, dude.
Woo!
Yeah, where can people go see the Retaliators, the movie that you guys wrote together?
Yeah, you can. Anybody can go on Amazon Prime right now. We are on Amazon Prime. Anywhere where you buy and rent movies, we're on VOD everywhere. And we're really stoked. We're coming to Tubi on September 15th. We're going to have a big exclusive release on there. And so that's exciting too. We just dropped in Germany, and we've got a bunch of countries that we're rolling out soon too. So, but Amazon Prime would be the spot right now.
Killer.
Is the German one a dub or is it subtitles? Have we seen the German one yet?
Question. It is. They did a language. No, it's not a. It's done in German with. I'm trying to think. They did them all in different languages. So I know we did. I know we had to turn in parts of the script to get. Yeah, it's done in a bunch of different languages. So
now I'm curious. Now I got to pull up German Amazon Prime or whatever.
Yeah,
they call it.
Yeah. Jeff and I were just checking it out.
Yo, Amazon price.
Amazon for Jason.
Yeah, Das Retaliators.
Do they have their own dot over there? It's a .uk, .co.uk.
I think it's .de.
Okay.
Deutschland. Yeah.
So do you guys actually? One thing I was looking for it yesterday or a couple days before, but you guys were selling like some cool merch. Is that still available at all?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't checked the merch store lately, but
yeah, we if you go to retaliators.com, I think if you just Google retaliators.com, the site should come up.
Or retaliatorsmovie.com.
Retaliatorsmovie.com. Sorry. Yeah, we've got a bunch of merch on there. I don't know if I'm allowed to announce it yet, but there we have merch dropping in a very large chain that is in every mall that
Hot Topic. Yeah, cool.
You would hold it's got two words, and we're
subject.
dropping.
Yeah, who could guess what that's going to be?
Yeah.
That's exciting. I'm not going to
Anchor
say,
Blue.
but...
Anchor Blue. It's going to be everywhere in Anchor Blue.
Yeah,
It's crazy,
dude. Old Navy all the way. Fucking A. It's going live. Yeah, we're really psyched. That deal just got done, and right before we're ramping up a lot of this stuff, going into Halloween season to get everything kind of ramped up again.
Sure.
So yeah, we'll be in brick and mortar stores coming up soon here, which is like crazy.
Yeah.
Well,
what's
dude,
the best? Real quick, what's the best format? Is it just DVD? If you're selling like an actual physical copy of your movie, is it still DVD?
Blu-ray.
Blu-ray would be well, you look in where I live here, it's VHS. Blu-ray's the format for sure if you're going to go physical. We're in might as well drop all of our. I sound like a plug machine, but yeah, do it. We're in Best Buys everywhere too, brick and mortar. So the Blu-ray is in I think all Best Buys and selling well in there. So yeah.
Killer. Yeah, I would think that Retaliators is a type of movie that a lot of the cult horror collectors would want a physical copy of that. If you look at the logo when we're talking about how there's going to be merch in other stores soon. I think that punk rock would totally take that and run with it, dude. And the Retaliators logo itself.
Super metal.
It's
got a real vibe to it. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. Definitely. Yeah, that's awesome to hear. I mean, nothing we'd love more for sure.
Definitely. And shout out to Jody real quick. Jody's up in the chat right now. We got the full sibling situation.
Oh boy, there we go.
Right now.
I'll put her in comments.
Hey, Jody.
I'll put her out of context.
Jody's one of the strongest women we know personally.
That's true. Love you, Jody.
Yeah.
I live with Jody for 4 or 5 years, and she's basically, Carrie, Jody were basically my non-blood brothers and sisters growing up. Even Darren, I haven't seen you in so long. Hearing you talk again, I see like I'm like, oh, it's a younger John. I see so much John in you. It's crazy. Like how you even like present sentences and how you. It's like a hipper, newer, John that's doing something new and like doing creative stuff. But like, there's so much John in you. It's crazy.
That's so funny.
John is our dad for the audience.
John Geare.
I will see pictures of our dad, and it is freaky how much we look alike when we're about this age. Yeah, it's
same with
crazy.
Jan and Jody. I mean, seeing the old Jan pictures, I'm like, oh, what Jody did the black and white picture? Oh, it's
no, for sure. It's crazy how that happens. And then I'll see John in my kids sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
sure.
Especially when when they're really young, you just like those features really pop and stuff like that. But, enough family stuff. Darren and Jeff, why don't you give us your pitch of the Retaliators? What's the movie about? What's the vibe of the movie? Where did it come from when you guys wrote it? 3 questions in one.
I was like, what kind of time, Carrie?
What's your favorite color?
As long as you can go for it.
I didn't realize we were on Charlie Rose here, bro. What the we were fucking hanging, man. Getting way technical.
Yeah, you might as well have flipped over a 3x5 index card off of the pile right there.
I'm all. So when you said that Martin Scorsese wasn't, no, I'm just kidding.
The Retaliators is definitely a unique film. That is for sure. I mean, what we set out to do was something that we knew we were taking a risk in doing it. For others who choke people on the regular, nice. Well, it's funny he says that. I mean, part of the movie is in part sort of a love letter to Jeff and I are huge fans of everything from like the canon film universe, like the Charles Bronson, that sort of 80s cheesy revenge, just that super guilty pleasure kind of revenge movie that's just there for just pure entertainment for entertainment's sake. So it's sort of in part that also certainly an homage to Evil Dead and the the homage to Evil Dead is not subtle, and it's not hidden in the movie.
That was one of my key points I was going to bring up tonight, is that even the pastor's facial expressions and covered in blood at times, you're like, this is Ash right here. It's Ash going crazy right now.
We had Jeff and I had like the cool jumping ahead. You're just making me think of it. We had the one of the most amazing experiences. We had so many that came out of doing this movie, is that we got to screen the movie for the writer, one of the Evil Dead creators. So he wrote Evil Dead 2. He was one of the producers. He was right there with Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell right at the beginning of Evil Dead. He wrote Evil Dead 2.
Uh-oh.
Did we lose
Darren?
Did we lose?
Do you need to call 911?
I'm actually I freeze at those times too, because I don't know if it's my internet.
Okay, he's back.
All right,
you froze up a little bit.
You froze up a little bit, but yeah.
So you were right at the point where you're talking about Bruce Campbell.
I started putting everyone else in full screen.
Yeah, this is the guy who he started what's that?
He started Brazzers.
Listen, that's the chapter where he doesn't like to talk about. So listen, you want to go there now? Fine.
That's where he gets his funding.
We brought the script to Peter North.
Dude,
He took it south.
Dude, you're going way deep dive there.
Whoa. Deep dive.
Yeah,
Peter North still? Or no?
Deep Dive 5. That was my favorite. The one.
So anyway, so his name's Scott Spiegel. He not only did he write Evil Dead 2, he produced it. I think he also produced Army of Darkness. He also produced Hostel with Quentin Tarantino, the whole series of Hostel movies, and directed part 3. Anyway, we got to screen Retaliators for Scott Spiegel. Scott also has the distinction of Quentin Tarantino when he was, I guess, very broke and up and coming. He slept on his couch. So Scott was like one of those kind of guys. We got to screen the movie for him, and when the Evil Dead homage happens, and again, if you haven't seen the movie, it's not subtle. It happens. When you're watching the movie, it feels like the kind of movie where it wouldn't belong in this movie, and that's sort of the point. And then, but when it goes full Evil Dead, Scott, I mean, he jumped to his feet. He's a very excitable guy. He's a very animated guy. Awesome guy. And he just started going, "Holy shit, that's Bruce. Whoa, that is fucking Bruce. That looks just like Bruce. Whoa." And he just started freaking out. He loved the movie. But we didn't even tell him that part was coming. He didn't know that the homage was in there.
Right.
And he was really, really touched. And because the real homage is really the Evil Dead 2 homage. That's really the homage, not really Evil Dead 1. It's really 2, which is the one he wrote. So anyway, yeah.
And that's what I get from that too, is it is an homage. I didn't feel any kind of, plagiarism or anything like that. I literally took that part of the movie as you guys just giving your praise to a great, gory, humorous classic that still now makes me want to go back and watch that movie. And I think that would be the point of that, right? You're trying to give praise, but also anybody who were to come across your film that didn't know about Evil Dead, and then they start to dive into that style of cinema, and they end up finding the classics like that, and then you end up bringing more fans to the good shit.
100%. Yeah. 100. Yeah, absolutely. And so, the idea was to sort of take like this sort of mix of these sort of genres that we really love, and sort of splatter action, splatter horror, but really have that be all sort of a kind of a surprise, and have that be this sort of left turn that the movie makes. And the first part of the movie is really more of like a drama, like a crime drama, crime thriller.
Right.
And then it takes like a hard left turn. And, Jeff and I always talk about, we're just really big fans of, we're not really big fans of the twist per se. We really love left turn. So whether it's movies like Audition, From Dusk Till Dawn is a really, more mainstream.
Mulholland Drive.
Hostel is a really good example, where you just sort of feel like you're on a certain kind of ride, and then you just end up going in a direction you don't expect. So we really wanted
20 minutes of Hostels like tits and partying, and then all of a sudden you're in this crazy underworld that you had no idea
it's the best.
Existed. Yeah,
it's the best.
Can you explain explain a twist versus a left turn, like because it kind of seems like making a hard turn is kind of a twist. You know what I'm saying? Like as far as
Right.
You want to take it, Jeff?
Yeah.
Yeah. No. I mean, that is a good point. I mean, I try not to get too bogged down on like the definitions here, but like an example of a twist ending where it's not really a left turn is something. I guess The Sixth Sense is like the classic.
I was going to say like every M. Night movie is like a twist.
Like the whole build up, like so a twist could be the whole build up for the whole movie, and then it's all bah at the end.
Yeah, but I think left turn refers more to almost like a genre shift. Whereas a twist, it's within the genre, and you just get some surprise at the end that changes the way you look at everything else in the film that came before it. Whereas a left turn, it's tonal. It's something very deep fabric of the film that sort of moves into a different direction.
Yep.
And I love that because it can feel a little, but it's tough.
It's jarring.
It can be, and it can be too jarring for some people. If you don't do it well, it can be off-putting and like, okay, I wanted to watch that other movie that was playing for 45 minutes. I'm not invested in this. What's fun about the reception we actually got for the Retaliators is a lot of people really loved the left turn of it. I mean, even some people that weren't that sympathetic to the film, if they loved one thing, it was like the left turn. They loved where we turned into. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
We were pretty proud of that.
I would think that it didn't take me out of my mindset enough to where I was totally set off by the left turn. And if you watch the trailer, you kind of understand a little bit of what's going to happen,
Yeah.
And where we end up.
Yeah, for sure.
The way that the trailer was set up, the stuff that happens is at different times than you would think it would happen too.
Right. Yeah. Another way to look at it too is like with, and some of the best twists, there are some amazing twists in cinema. I mean, Jeff and I just rewatched Memento the other day, amazing twist at the end of that movie. And obviously, Sixth Sense is a classic, and there's just a million examples of phenomenal twists in film in cinema. But typically with twists, Jeff kind of already mentioned it, where it's like it usually is like what you've been watching as an audience for a long time now is undone, or it's like here's this whole other reality going on that you didn't know was there, and it's now being revealed. Whereas the sort of left turn, as we like to call it, it has nothing to do necessarily with everything that you just saw. It's not about things being underneath what you just saw. The roller coaster now flew off the track, and you're now on another ride. So as like Jeff said, the tone changes, the genre changes. That's what shook people with From Dusk Till Dawn, because you're watching just a straight up Tarantino crime heist kind of a movie, and then all of a sudden you're in a total full vampire, gory horror film, and that's part of that roller coaster, is that you're just thrown into that.
Totally, dude. I mentioned Mulholland Drive earlier. That's another film that like what is it, 30 minutes before it's over, that everything changes, characters are different now. Like
Lynch doesn't give a fuck. He will
Lynch does not give a fuck, and
right,
that's why we love him so much
all day.
But that would be an example of a left turn then, correct? Where the last 30-40 minutes, the plot line has totally exited the highway that it was on and lost highway. And moved on to a whole different path where you can literally be like, oh, that character is now a whole different character. Different.
It's about having fun with the rules, and that's what we've been kind of doing. And Lynch he doesn't care about the rules at all. He's always, that's how he's sort of just made his career. Total respect for the guy, because he just goes on his own path in his films, and they're not for everybody, but for the people who appreciate it,
they're all for me.
It's different.
Anthony's a huge Lynch head.
Oh, man.
Darren and Jeff, are you guys into Lynch?
I like Lynch.
Yeah,
I mean, I like Elephant Man and Eraserhead, but to be honest, I haven't really seen. I saw a little bit of Dune when I was probably too young, and and then
those are all great films. But like,
I love Eraserhead.
His later stuff. You should. Eraserhead is a good example of his early career. That is a good example of who he is and how he wanted to be at that time.
Yeah,
dive into his later shit, dude. It gets pretty crazy.
Real quick, Jan and John are just demanding. They're like, "Fuck focus. Where's the shout out?"
Oh my god!
I'm trying to crack up on the side because you guys are in a good conversation. But I remember I just think of John just saying "fuck focus," dude. What's up with that?
That's great.
He's talking about the Cynic album too. It's deeper than that, dude.
He's like, brought up music yet, and he's just like, "Fuck your favorite man, Anthony."
Before we leave this topic, another what I consider, me and probably Darren too, I think we both agree with this. The classic left turn is Psycho.
Hell yeah.
Psycho. Oh yeah,
that starts off a totally different genre than where it ends up.
Probably the best mainstream example. I'm sure there's probably another good one to cite out there, but from a mainstream, that's the ultimate.
Like Black
Mirror, you change protagonists. You change protagonists.
Yeah, you change protagonists.
It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like the way that you guys put it as left turn, because I've never heard that before. Because when I think twist, I know exactly what that means. And now in my head, I think, the twist is when you go 180, and a left turn is when you go 90. You know what I mean?
That's a way of looking at it for sure.
Yeah, because like the twist is like, it was all in his head. He's schizophrenic, and then you're like, okay, sick, I guess.
Well, both come with their own risks. I mean, like the risk of the twist is that you just don't buy it, or you don't want to rewatch it again because you're like, I love the movie I watched up to this point. Yeah. And now with this new knowledge at the end or the reveal, it's like, now that's not a movie I like anymore. I don't like the
character. I like everything you just saw.
Right.
Yeah. So you're risking a this versus a this. It's like, oh, fuck this, or like, oh, that was sick. It's like you're risking the whole thing.
Well, Jeff,
I think that's a Roger Ebert quote, Joel.
That's two fingers up of some kind. Jeff, I remember one of my favorite twists is you and I, and you were like, dude, you haven't seen Fight Club? And then you showed me Fight Club because I had not seen it and I knew nothing about it, which was the perfect way to go into it. And I was like, the fight movie, like this, like with the bar of soap and all that, like I'm not down. And then you were like, no, we should watch it. And we watched it. And that was one of those ones where you get to, it is a twist. It is a straight up twist. It was not a left turn. That was a twist. And then you get to the end of it and you're like, Fincher, you got it, dude. You got me.
Not to stay on this topic forever, but that's part of the problem too, is that some of these amazing twists, Fight Club being one of them, they're so great that you end up with all of these you end up with all of these sort of these copycats. You end up with all these copycats.
Behave yourself.
You end up with all these kind of copycat twists. And then you get like secondary twist movies where now
everyone's screaming and
now you're just burnt. So it's like that's part of it too, is that you go, that's so good. The split personality. It's like if we see another split personality, I'm gonna fucking jump out.
Like Identity. John Cusack.
Well, Yeah.
Been done to death now. But when it was fresh, it was great. It was
yeah.
great.
No, that was a great use of it. And now for every movie since then, I'm like, well, are they going to do the split personality thing? They kind of ruined it. You know what I mean?
Right.
It got ruined for a generation. They could wheel it out another couple years for the Gen Zers.
Yeah, let it get stagnant for a little bit, and then
they'll be like, "What club? Who are you talking about?" Yeah, go ahead, Anthony.
No, okay. So I want to dig into you guys a little bit, and I really have to pee, so I'm gonna ask this question and leave the room real quick. I thought I was gonna do a little fucking Ace Ventura.
I don't even want to ask what the intention was there.
Excuse me, do you have some banana?
He's offering his human toilet for you.
Jeff, please don't ever do that ever again.
Who would like to take a left turn?
The question that I want to ask, I want to be here for it. So you guys be dumbs for a little bit while I go pee real quick.
No, I mean, so real quick.
Yeah,
how your butt
take a left turn.
How your butt when when Ace Ventura when Jim Carrey did that scene.
Wait, can we watch Anthony take a piss?
Yeah, let me scroll to that live footage.
Is there a dump cam?
It's on the inside. It's a bidet cam. It's a bidet cam, so you get to see only
a bidet cam.
It's a bidet GoPro.
Oh, does he have the new eye bidet? Yeah,
it's new Brazzers bidet. But the brown eye. It's the brown eye. It's like the camera on the bidet. We're just making products up like as we go.
Oh goodness.
But no, real quick. One thing when you did the Jim Carrey thing, this is a weird thing that's been troubling my childhood. When he first did that,
with that man.
When he did the whole, when Jim Carrey did the butt talk thing, how his butt, like when he did that, like it went so.
Right?
So much. Like
he's a tall guy. He's a very tall guy with a tall butt. Yeah, he's got a lot of. I think that's all it is.
It was
like 2 legs almost. You know what I mean?
Like 4 or 5 inches in his butt. Every movement like this. I was like,
yeah, I know what you mean.
He was a man that was committed to his craft. Joel,
did it's funny, dude?
It's a weird
thought. That's probably a thought that millions of people have had, and I think you're the only person that I've ever heard voice it.
Yeah, no, that is true.
Jeff was close though. Jeff, you had some inner butt like looseness. Sorry.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah, they look like 2 potatoes in a sack.
This isn't the first time me and Joel have met. That
was the time. Okay,
this is the first time outside of a public restroom.
Oh my god, this is good. Oh shit. So so that was my question.
All right, well,
good one, Joel.
Yeah, good one.
So
but to answer it just clearly, I did notice that, but I did
I think everyone noticed it. I was like, they did this, and it was like, it's like, why are you able to do that? I don't know. Like everyone else tries to pretend to do it, and it's like they're all like barely there anything moves.
Yeah,
like, oh, it's not funny because it doesn't go all the way in like Jim Carrey's butt did.
Yeah, it might have been the pants though too, dude, because he had those he had those like genie pants on, bro. So he might have been getting a lot of fabric going on.
That makes more.
That's true.
Do you know what I mean?
True.
Yeah.
You got to admit that he did have a lot of
Jeff's got some tight like sweats on right now. So
yeah, I got some booty shorts on. So
insightful, Joel.
Jody,
flabby ass.
Excuse me.
Jody, I got the flabby ass.
Question.
No muscle. Wait, who's got the flabby ass, Jody?
Yeah.
Oh no,
mine kind of sags, dude. I need to start squatting.
I know. I need to do those butt exercises or whatever.
Yeah, we definitely us white guys need to perk up our booties for sure, dude.
Oh yeah, no, just Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey.
Oh, no, Jim Carrey.
talking about the throw and the yaw on Jim Carrey's fucking butt cheeks, dude. Just the action,
the depth. Anyways,
yeah, he can definitely. Yeah, you're talking about how malleable his ass cheeks are in that scene.
Yeah,
yes. It's like played
fine
but
with those
fast.
things, with those cheeks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know, he's like flapping them.
I have to pee now. All right, get back to
Go
good
for
questions.
it. Go for it. All right, Darren and Jeff.
This train went way off the tracks with you out of the room, buddy.
Yeah,
I started something, or he started something with showing his ass, and then I thought of Ace Ventura, and then left, and you guys ran with it the whole time I was gone.
Pretty much,
I love that.
No, the train doesn't stop. Anthony, you have seen the movie recently. What are your thoughts on the Retaliators, dude?
I actually enjoyed it quite a bit, you know, and
thanks, man.
No, this is true. So I was thinking about a couple of things that I was going to bring up, and gladly you guys got into the Evil Dead thing quite quick. So I was like, okay, there's that one thing that I know that that light bulb that hit with me while watching it. Also, like Dead Alive. That's another film that came. The shovel scene that was very Dead Alive to me.
Yeah.
But I like, and without giving away anybody who's watching this, please pause this, listen to it after you watch the movie, because you'll just have a much better perspective. But I like the inner battle that is happening between well, not between, but with the main character who's a pastor, right? Is he?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. The inner battle that he's having, and I love shout out to, I forget his name, but he's from Clerks. He's in the
in the beginning.
Yeah.
Brian O'Halloran. Yeah.
Okay, so that scene right there gives you a little insight as to how this pastor would deal with conflict,
right?
You know, and it's the classic turn the other cheek situation, you know, that a man of God would take as his path in that situation. And then he's faced with that same exact situation, but at a much more extreme level later on. Where is this a time where he's going to turn the other cheek, or is he going to step out of being a man of God and be a primal human being who's a father? And as a father, I don't know if I can handle things the same way he did at times.
Yeah.
You think you would retaliate?
Oh, well, I would definitely. I think I would retaliate a lot quicker, for sure. You know, or at least try. Yes, exactly, Jody. That's some primal shit that I was feeling while watching. You know, that's another thing too, is watching a movie like this. You see it from a different lens depending on what kind of person you are. You know.
Yeah.
So
what you're talking about right now is like. I just know this is like so music to Jeff and I's ears, because this was exactly why we didn't want to pick any sides. You know, I think it's such a mistake in cinema to sort of like judge your characters and sort of telegraph to the audience, you know, well, here's the path you should take. This is what this as the writer, here's the way to go, and here's what you should do. You see that a lot these days. And we were very strict about making sure we were as evenly weighed on looking at both sides of that struggle, because we didn't want it to be a cartoon kind of situation. We wanted to take that. The movie eventually goes into cartoon land, and that's what I mean. Like, we kind of save it for you get that release in the last act of the film, but we really wanted for as sustained as long as possible, there to be that inner struggle as the audience. I had people at screenings come up to me and go, "Oh, you bastard," and I go, "What?" And I think of myself as a pacifist, and this movie made me really confront, shit that I didn't want to think about, and really wrestle, and and that's, we're not the movie again. We're not trying to turn pacifists into people, into people who turn to violence, as you see from the film, without giving things away. The pastor ends up making surprisingly, I don't want to give stuff away, but he makes choices that are mostly in line with his principles, but that doesn't mean consequences aren't still there, and all that stuff. So it's awesome to hear you talk about it. I love hearing
it. To kind of echo what you were saying there.
Go ahead, Jeff. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I was just, it had me thinking of the fact that we didn't want to give any answers to the moral dilemmas set up in the film. So we kind of leave that up for the audience to figure out, on their own, whatever experiences they bring to it. They're going to walk away, hopefully it's a movie that has people talking at the end of it. Like, what would you do if, one of your children, had something really horrible happen to them, and you had an opportunity to really, take vengeance, and I think what I really enjoy about the moral dilemma of it is it's one that I think it's one that isn't too difficult to maybe think through in the abstract as having an easy answer, maybe, but when you're confronted with it in real life, you feel overwhelmed by the emotions of the situation.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
Or it's almost like the rational part of your mind is drowning. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I really connected with that. It was really the origin of the film itself, was that feeling in both me and Darren and Carrie and our whole family.
Totally.
That's really cool. I mean, like, forcing people to have morals. I mean, not forcing, but they have morals, and you're forcing them to be like, all right, well, this happened. What do you like?
Yeah.
How do you react? That's like, how do your morals, do they change or not? Are you gonna make the right decision for this person, or what are you gonna? It's kind of like, it's a really cool, critically thinking movie.
Yeah, it's like a real life philosophy test, right?
Yeah,
like Jeff, you could talk about that a little bit, right?
That's why I love what Jeff. That's what I love about Jeff. What he said about sparking conversation, like that. That's the intention. Is
yeah.
I mean, there's nothing better, when Jeff and I watch a lot of movies, and a lot of movies together, and there's nothing better than when a movie's over and we can sit and just dissect it, or it makes us think, or we or get in an argument, or get into a philosophical discussion, or get into, you can go down so many different paths. Some movies end and it's like, well, that sucked, or that was okay, or what, and again, when things are sort of handed to you, and you're not really asked to kind of step into the character, we like to treat the audience like adults and say, look, here's these different sides, let your imagination and your mind kind of run wild, while we hopefully entertain you, along the way. Yeah, Jeff certainly has his roots in philosophy. That's for sure. Jeff, you should brag a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about brag, but no, I studied philosophy in college and got my master's in philosophy. So I it's funny getting into screenwriting. It felt more like, I heard this great Charlie Kaufman quote once where he said, a lot of writers, it's like, oh, I'm a this, but I write movies. I'm a that, but I write movies. And for me, sometimes it feels like I'm a philosopher who also writes movies. You know what I mean? Sometimes I'm a musician, and I write movies. So yeah, certainly the philosophy. It's the connection's still pretty abstract though, because it's not like we don't treat a movie like a seminar necessarily either. You know what I mean? It's not like, philosophy can be a little boring to the outside, to those uninitiated, but it does give you an appreciation certainly of dilemmas and wanting to keep those alive in a work of art, rather than just quashing it with like, okay, here's my thesis, here's what I think is right, and we're going to argue for that in this movie. This is the right choice to make. That would be a terrible use of philosophy in making a movie, I think. But yeah, the way I use it is just more in terms of, keeping the dilemmas alive. I think that's actually a pretty accurate.
Right. That's actually a great thing, because anybody left asking themselves or asking other people questions after a movie is what keeps it alive, at least for one person. Like there's the nerds out there that are like me, who like to pick apart something like, I'm hearing reversed.
I was gonna make a joke like, who's mom's backing up right now?
Flash right now.
Yeah, who's got the dump truck backing in the room? Jeff, why don't you stand up and show it off again, bro?
Oh, that's 100. That is 100%
perfect timing. If Jeff just got back up and back up,
that is 100% me. You know what? I gotta go use the restroom as well, so I'm gonna mute myself.
Well, guys, I'm getting swatted. I'm just kidding. I'm all getting fucking shot.
Yeah, I just swatted you, bro. Sorry, dude.
You squatted us earlier. It was good. But yeah, squatted us.
I squatted you guys.
Yeah.
Well, you guys are getting squatted.
I don't even remember where I was going with that, dude. I was just talking about questions, right? Just like, that's what keeps it alive.
Right.
Yeah. That's what keeps you wanting to come back, and maybe unanswered questions, you might be able to answer them again on the second watch, and then if it's not, then it's the third watch, and then it's maybe on the second or third watch more questions are opened up, and then it just becomes this like thing, this rabbit hole you're just digging yourself down, and you end up being the Retaliators fan, like, dude, telling all your buddies like, you gotta watch this one, But that's okay. So when we talk about you guys as screenwriters and as a team, we got to know the backstory about that, because I want to know when you guys started writing together, and was it one of you before the other, or what, maybe some other screen plays that you've written that might have come into like shorts or indie films growing up? Like, when did this all start for you guys?
I want you guys to add into this too, because I know that Darren, I've known you was like a brilliant musician. You do all these cool things and stuff, but when you decided to get involved with screenwriting, just maybe could be someone listening one day. How did you get the opportunity to what's the best way for someone that has written a script or something to send it and maybe get it seen, possibly? I know it's definitely like a throwing a dart with a blindfold on, but the thing is, like, how did you get that as well?
For sure. Well, Jeff and I, it's so funny. We grew growing up, we made, the most ridiculous short films like you could ever imagine. Lord knows what we were thinking, but we would make these little movies to make each other laugh, and we would get our friends to be in them and write these ridiculous scripts and play ridiculous characters, and truly do this for no other reason than to make ourselves cry laughing, and which we did often. And so, we always had, and I was in the industry a little bit. We played music together, always huge cinephiles. And it was something I mean, we always sort of fantasized about doing, but I think it always felt like this thing very far away that we would never actually do. But it was certainly something we always, kind of would talk about every now and then. And, it was just out of the blue 6 years ago now. I literally just, I had this kind of profound, I don't know, just insightful moment of like, you know what? I don't want to, I don't want to tell anybody. Just want to call Jeff, see if he's down. I'm going to buy a book to learn how to write screenplays, see if he's down to do it. And I called him and just said, hey, bro, do you want to just do that? We've always talked about writing a script. You want to just do it? Let's not tell anybody. Let's just do it. And he was like, fuck yeah, let's do it. And so I said, okay, well, let's I read an article that what sort of gave me the light bulb was I read this article that said, and I just stumbled on it, and it said something like, here are these 3 things that you need to have done to become a good screenwriter. And one of the things was, it said, well, you need to, I remember one of the things was, well, you need to have, you need to really love movies and watch a lot of movies and speak that language. And I'm like, well, that's ridiculous, no brainer for me and for Jeff. I mean, our whole life has been about, besides music, it's been about film, still
check.
Is. And check, yeah. And then one of the things was, and it says, and it was like, here's what most people don't do. You need to read as many screenplays as you possibly can. Read hundreds if you can. Understand the language, understand what works, what doesn't work, what a good screenplay is, what a bad screenplay is. Well, I had done that. I had growing up, I did acting for about 10 years, and I auditioned a ton, and I read, God knows, endless scripts, and 99.9% of those scripts were mediocre to bad. It's just like anything else. It's great art is rare. So I know, and I had this flash of like, well, I know what a really bad and boring script feels like and reads like. I know what that feels like. And then, so I just had this feeling of like, well, maybe, I don't know. And then it was just this little spark. Called Jeff. Jeff was, thank God, he was just like, yes, totally down. We didn't think twice. We just dove into, okay, let's check out this book. I had a really good friend of mine. He also was a big inspiration. He was a screenwriter. He still is a screenwriter, a successful one, Jerry Artukovich. And he recommended a book. The book was a mind blower. I gave it to Jeff. I told Jeff about it. Started reading every book we could, watched endless amount of podcasts and interviews, and just dove in. And then, The Retaliators was the first script that we wrote.
That's crazy, dude.
It's totally crazy. We had a couple ideas we played with before the Retaliators became the idea, but that was the first actual script we attempted and outlined and wrote and finished. So as far as advice goes, we got so lucky. We were told about, something called the Blacklist, which is this amazing platform that's been around for like 20 years. And it's this place where anybody can submit a screenplay online. It costs money, and they're notoriously, you get coverage, you get a review of your screenplay, and they're notoriously really difficult with their scoring. So they notoriously will score you very low. It's hard to get a good score.
Mm-hmm.
But if you get a good score, you end up on their top list. And if you end up on their top list, then you get exposure to people in the industry. So it is very much like you said, it's close your eyes, throw a dart. Everybody I talked to said, yeah, you know, getting a script on the top list, it's, you know, it's either impossible or it could take 7-8 scripts before you would get near getting a screenplay on there.
Yeah, to piggyback on that, Darren, I did check out the Blacklist Reddit, the depressing Blacklist Reddit posts about like, you know, this list is rigged. You know, this it's impossible to get anything above a 3 or what. You know, there's like, well, it's brutal, man. It's brutal. It's got a reputation.
Yeah, it's got that reputation. So we sent it in truly and humbly and seriously, ready to get torn apart and ready to just learn. Okay, well, here's what we're doing wrong, and
that was the first of 7 that they say I'm supposed to write.
Totally. Yeah. And so we sent that in, and to our absolute shock, we got high scores, and we ended up on the top list right away. And then very shortly after, started getting interest and offers and meetings. And I mean, so it, you know, absolute insanity of how it happened. And it was very lucky, you know, but you know, we just had a weird front loading with how we did it, because we front loaded it with many years of movie watching obsessively, and front loaded with many years of reading scripts. And then when it came time to get into the formal learning of sort of the you know, classical structure and things like that, we took that very seriously. We took it like we were going to college base. I mean, we spent easily probably 2 to 3 years, even though we were writing the Retaliators in that time. We were just constant reading, constant sharing ideas, and yeah, so it's a crazy story, but that's how it happened.
That is a crazy story. I mean, I know I was just alluding to it while you were saying it, but for your first script as a team, and pretty much just as individuals as well, for it to get that much traction that quick, might make you feel a little what's the word I'm looking for? It's just like a pipe. It's like a dream almost. Like it's not. So you have certain expectations after this situation too, where it's like, oh, I wrote a script and now it's a movie. So then what do you do after that? You know, like
I'll tell you why that didn't happen.
The script to make another movie.
Yeah, I'll tell you why that didn't happen, because the part I'm leaving out is when I forgot, we at one point we were trying to remember. I used to know the number to the T. I don't remember now. It was something crazy, like from when we finished the script, submitted it, to selling the script, I want to say it was 3 or 4 months, which is insanity. And then we started shooting principal photography from when we finished the script, just shy of a year from when we finished the script. That is insanity. So that's everything you're talking about just the absolute pipe dream and living in a different reality, where we got an immediate the breaks of all time, is that weeks into shooting, COVID happened.
Yeah.
Fucking
lockdown, dude.
We went from
we were waiting for mass death.
You're all You're all sick. The last movie ever made. Maybe.
It's like real life is a horror movie right now. It's
yeah. We went from every day truly going, this is a lottery ticket, this is insanity, to holy shit, because of what's going on in the world, our lottery ticket, amongst all the other horrible things going on, because it obviously wasn't our number one focus. There was so much other shit going on, and I have family and jobs and everything else. But along with all that shit,
but somebody took your lottery ticket and put it in a safe that you didn't know the combination to.
And we thought it was gonna be gone, and we thought, here it is. We had the ultimate dream happen, and this fucking thing, amongst all the other shit that it caused. This is yet another thing, and it was low on the list compared to real, the real kind of shit going out there. I lost people, in the pandemic, so I had certainly perspective, but it was a heartbreak, to have middle of the shoot, and it's just, is this ever going to get finished? Is it ever going to get done?
Yeah.
So by the amount of miracles it took for it to get finished, it took years because of COVID. The shoots were insane. The process was insane. The producers were unbelievable for keeping it going. The cast was incredible for everybody. Michael Lombardi, the star of the movie, the producer, head producer of the film, and he also directed a good portion of the film. The reason people go, why are there so many directors on this film? That's why, because COVID. Right. And this movie was, we lost directors, we lost actors, we had to shoot different coasts. We did whatever it took to get this movie finished. So weirdly, we had to go through such a gauntlet to get it done. That front half was just pure Cinderella, but the last half was just insanity, and it ended up with a very, very happy ending. But coming through all of that, we certainly don't take anything for granted or go, wow, well, it should all just come easy after this, because it's like, that wasn't easy at the end of the day. It still was a lot,
but with all the trials and tribulations, you guys made it happen, and it's something that's actually very easily accessible to everybody who's listening to this right now.
It's also not like an easy thing that you guys had, like we got the thing and blah, blah. It's like, now you went through like kind of like a little,
you guys sound more like producers as well, like you guys were way as screenwriters. I think that your average screenwriter in Hollywood probably doesn't push to get their stuff done. They're just trying to sell scripts, right? Well, you guys took took it in your hands to make sure that this thing was brought to fruition.
Yeah, when we write because we want that movie to be made. Now we're not perfect. We have written movies since then that we thought could get made and ended up being too much money. I mean, it's about fundraising, right?
It's always about money.
We want to make movies that we write a movie. The next step is, how do we get people to give us money so we can make that movie we just wrote, And so, but we're still very blessed in that area. I mean, there's not a lot we can like talk about. Anything that's in development is always kind of touchy that way. But yeah, I think we're in a really good place right now because of Retaliators, and it's put us in a position to work with some great people and trying to develop more movies, and we're working on one right now, in fact.
Jeff nailed it, and I wouldn't change it. And that's the next two scripts we wrote, we didn't think about budget, we didn't think about genre per se. We just wanted to write the best scripts we could write and grow. And I truly think we nailed it both times. Our scores in the Blacklist beat the Retaliators twice. So we beat it with the next one, and then we beat it again.
Damn.
Which we're so proud of. But as Jeff pointed out, what we learned was, guess we should start thinking about budgets, because we weren't writing Armageddon, but we weren't.
I was about to say, Darren's Hall.
That crazy. We weren't going that crazy, but we were definitely not thinking as producers in today's market, where the reality is horror is a very, very horror thriller, very viable market, but the world we're playing in, ideally we want to be within, a smaller, much more manageable budget. And we were sort of tripling that. We were sort of tripling where we want to be. Not on purpose. We were, again, and I wouldn't change it, because I feel like those scripts got us to where we're at now, which is we finally said, okay, so now we need to completely put the scope of this in mind, and now do the best we can do. And I mean, we are so stoked on what we just did, and what we just finished a new script, and we're in development. And knock on wood, we've got some good stuff going on. What's that?
Well, teasers, dude. Yeah, I know a little bit about it.
You're getting me excited because I enjoyed the Retaliators. You're saying this stuff is beating the Retaliators. I'm like, oh no, dude.
And Darren and Jeff, there'll be a future time when Galaxy Wars episode 1 through 4 are going to be able to get made with the budget that you envision. And when that time comes, we will all be there. I do want to say, one of the most magical times for me, just going back to the Retaliators, is going to the AMC in San Jose and going to see it on the big screen, dude. That was absolutely unbelievable.
What a surreal moment for you.
I gotta say,
my bros are
walked into the most corporate, gigantic movie theaters I've ever seen. It's got a staff of 500.
$17 popcorn.
I just walk into the Retaliators. I took a million pictures, the marquees and all that stuff.
Yeah,
it was wild.
We did the same thing. We went to we didn't go to the we had friends calling us going, come to this like cool theater in LA. We're like, no, I want to go to like the dorkiest corporate mall. I want to see, I want to see this and that's what we did. We went to this big fancy shopping center, and it was just so
we went
real.
Yeah, it was Bellaterra.
It's like, no, I want to go see it at the Old Navy. You know what I mean? You want to go. Yeah,
you want to see it where you've seen the most movies in the theater. Yeah. Like, what's like your just whatever go-to spot, around, it's easy to get to. And what's funny, we had a limited release though. And so we weren't in every movie theater. And I remember Darren one night, I'm coming over and we're working, and he's like, I got the list of theaters we're going to be opening in California and around the country too. But I was, so we were going through all the names, and he's getting to California, and I'm like, okay, I wonder if they get Bellaterra and Huntington Beach, I'm going to shit my pants. And literally there were like 3 or 4 theaters in all of Orange, maybe 2 or 3 in Orange County. And one of them was Bellaterra in Huntington Beach. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I knew that was going to be surreal, and it totally was. I mean, when you're, it was really, really bizarre.
Like, it was a limited release, but
it's like where your inspiration came from as like a, getting into movies and stuff. You're watching movies as a kid. You get to see your own movie on that screen. Yeah, it's like Jesus.
Yeah. Some of the most important moments of my life have been sitting in a chair in a movie theater, and I know that goes for Darren too. And it's weird thinking, you think of that as just almost an unreachable arena to express yourself creatively, and so to get to just that moment, whether anyone else is in there or it's making any money, none of that matters. It's just that you're on that screen. People have paid, however many people they paid their ticket to come in and spend an hour and a half with you, and to see what we cooked up for them, and that's the part that just still, if I really reflect on it, still gets to me, about the whole,
totally,
dude. It was all worth it at that point,
I ended up bringing a whole crew with me. because of course, and
family.
Like we kind of caravanned over there, and the people that I had in the car, because I was like, I'll just DD, you guys have fun. We're just gonna go, and everyone was so confused. They're like, "Did you?" So your brothers wrote the.
Oh Jesus!
Oh, shit.
He's all. So are you the vampire in this movie, or what's
Dude, Carrie's drinking some moonshine right now.
Oh damn! He's spinning.
Kind of
He's
like
spinning right now.
Dark, so he could.
But that's super cool though. Like just
while
getting.
we're waiting. Oh
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
Go
I was
ahead.
gonna say I had one queued up. I was gonna ask these guys real quick. So you had that whole experience. You went into the theater. You had the oh shit, the movie is not only done now. I'm part of an audience that came to pay to watch this thing in a corporate theater in a fucking shopping mall or whatever, and you're like feeling this, so you watch it, and I'm sure that wasn't your first time watching it. Obviously you've watched it many times through the whole editing process and everything. My question to you guys was of the screenplay, how much was cut out for the movie, and was there parts of the story that you wish stayed in the movie?
This is an area where for us to complain in this department, we would be we are so lucky in this department. My favorite story ever is Bret Easton Ellis telling the story of his first movie he got made was Less Than Zero. I think it was in like 1989. And the story he tells is, and it was this huge, I think it was like a big 20th Century Fox movie, and it had Andrew McCarthy and big Robert Downey Jr., big stars of the Brat Pack. It was still kind of a Brat Pack moment. And he walked out of the movie with his friend, and his friend goes, he goes, "So what did you think?" And he goes, "Well, not one scene I wrote in the whole thing was in the movie. Not one line I wrote was in the whole movie. The only thing that was the same was the characters' names and the title." Wow. And I remember reading that and going, "Whoa!" Like it can be that bad, right? I mean, it can be that.
Final cut can totally gut you.
I mean, you could have directors just take a vision of your work and just do completely different things. So there are, if anything, there's probably, look, Jeff and I would probably nitpick and say there's a couple scenes that, I wish we didn't have this one moment, or I wish we got this one moment back in. But the reality is 99% of every line of every scene is in the film. One of the things we couldn't control was the tone, and there was some tonal things that, that directors bring to the table. So credit goes to the directors for achieving the tones that they got. But we would be beyond foolish to complain, because as first time writers, being producers and having the involvement we did with the edit, and we had such a strong partnership with Michael Lombardi, again, who was running the show, and we were very in lockstep with him. So I mean, we would quibble over little things, but I mean, it was down to like, I really want that one word in, we were getting down to that kind of stuff. And we would always have to remind ourselves when we would, we won a lot of battles, but we'd lose a battle, and we'd have to look at each other and go, dude, we are so lucky.
Right.
So let's just have perspective and not trip,
That truly is another rarity, on top of you guys, taking off as fast as you guys did for that amount. To crazy. Stay in there. It is not common at all.
No.
And that's kind of another main question that I had for you guys is the writers of this thing. I wanted to know how much of your vision really got put on film, because there could be,
I'd say as far as
little tie-ins here and there. And I'm not saying any specifics. You kind of just gave me the perfect answer with what you just said.
Yeah, the vision ended up slightly different. And I'm not saying worse, just worse or better per se, just slightly different. But again, as far as the content is, like I said, like 98, 99% ours. So, there were some tonal changes and just little shifts and little things. But at the end of the day, it ultimately contributed to, I think, the what works about the film. So I think ultimately it just works. I don't know, Jeff, do you have any thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, well, I think you put it really well. I mean, I think there's a, I don't know where this quote originates from, but I like it. And it's, a film gets written 3 times, really. It's written by the screenwriter, it's written by the director, and then it's written by the editor. So already we knew, as just being writers, not directing the film, and not editing it, we were not going to see whatever vision we had for it exactly, as closely as it possibly could be. But what's cool about it going through different directors and then through a really brilliant editor, Randy Bricker, who's worked on a lot of other horror stuff. He was really like our vet in the corner that was making sure that everything got done and as best as they could. By the time you come out the other side of all this, through all these like iterations, it's kind of, in a way, it's really fun because you kind of get someone else's interpretation of your film, but when you can still say at the end of the day, it feels like the same movie we wrote. That's what was crazy. It's like on the one hand, it is so different from where we would have probably taken it if we were the ones in the director chair and we were the ones editing it or something like that. Perhaps it would have been different, but what we got still feels like the film we wrote. And I think that was like the Bret Easton Ellis, thing there. The quote that Darren was bringing up, the experience he had, and a lot of other writers have. It's like, oh, I wrote a movie, and this doesn't feel like the movie I wrote. I mean, a lot of screenwriters will disown the films once they get there. Quentin Tarantino famously disowned Oliver Stone's Natural Born Killers. And I love Natural Born Killers. I mean, I didn't write the damn movie, so what do I care? You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm sure the script's amazing too, but that's a very common experience. That's not an unusual experience. What's unusual is like how great, obviously Quentin Tarantino is and how great Oliver Stone is. But what's not unusual is just that, you write a movie with a certain vision in mind, a director takes it, runs their own sort of interpretation of it, and the writer hates it, And we were just, it's crazy. I feel like we were really blessed being able to get a movie that felt like the one we wrote.
I really enjoy auteurs for that reason, because they don't have the different people involved. They're just across the board. I'm the director, producer, director of photography. I'm everything. I just want to make sure that my vision is just 100% seen, and the only way I do that is I need to be involved in it all.
Right.
That was really nothing to add.
Actually, one question I had. So you guys talk about writing, writing together, writing movies or writing scripts and stuff. What does that look like? Are you guys sitting across from each other? Are you guys having drinks? Are you guys setting or sending emails back and forth? Like when you guys collaborate with a movie, if someone was like, oh, I got a good idea and I know this guy would be cool if I work with this guy. How do you guys coordinate all that together, and how do you implement that?
okay, let me answer that question by answering a slightly different question. The slightly different question, though, will link back to that question. The slightly different question is, if we were to make a movie about the Geare brothers and we wanted to depict them writing their movie, what would it look like? Maybe I wouldn't have. Maybe I won't say how we write all the time, but
Exactly.
One way that we write is crammed up in a car on our lunch breaks. You know what I mean? Dude, going, okay, getting El Pollo Loco. You know what I mean? And spilling on ourselves and just making each other laugh. Or we're taking a little road trip, or we're hanging out in actually the room that Darren's in right now. We call that that's like our writer's room. We have really
with
awesome
the Tower Records fucking thing in the background.
Darren, you can show them around a little bit because that's the writer's room.
Let's do the 80s room.
Yeah, sorry, dude, you're throwing me back to my childhood right now.
Camera
so
here
hard.
for a second, Mar. Sorry. So wave.
Are those Pokemon cards on the wall right over there?
No, that's Garbageville Kids, bro.
Oh, that's even better, dude. Yes.
This is the 80s room,
dude. Look at Bronson, dude.
Damn.
We got the VHS. We got
that's skateboard, Santa Cruz skateboard deck.
Oh, nice.
Dude, without telling me exactly, because I'm going to find out later, because I want to come hang out in that room now. Where are you located currently?
Come right with us, dude. We'll write some sketches.
Dude, I mean, this is actually no joke. That's actually an avenue that I've wanted to, because I am a writer, like I told you guys in the beginning, and I've written stories since I was a child. I'm actually very excited to try and do that. I would love to.
For me, I would just love to interject. I would love to hear stories like what you guys are talking about, and just be like, "Oh, but that."
Oh, you want to be the guy in the room, just like
add stuff. I want to be a plus, not a minus.
A key part that I really want to mention of sort of the form, I would say it really is turning into a formula, because we just finished our fourth. Is that we spend the first, and this is what's great about having a team, and I couldn't imagine even doing it another way, because it is so nice. The actual writing part, these being in final draft and writing the screenplay, is sort of the least amount of time is in that part. Even when a script takes months and months to write, our last one, I don't know, took maybe 6 months to write, something like that. But for most of that time, we're in a room. It's typically this room, and it's vibed out as hell in here. And we put on, I have a whole, I'll show you, I have stacks of vinyl, like.
Or is it cannabis friendly in there?
It's a Tower Records.
Oh, damn. It's actual money Tower Records.
Yeah. So there's we throw records on, we vibe out, and we map out the movie, and we are very, very big on outlining and spending a lot of time. This is a little bit of a controversial thing in the writing world. Sort of, do you outline? Should you not outline? And we're definitely big on, we kind of like to have our cake and eat it too. We spend a lot of time outlining. We have 3 or 4 different methods of outlining. We will go through the movie over and over and over again and sort of try to make it better and better and better, more interesting, more conflict.
Are you trimming or are you adding?
We're merciless. We're merciless. So it's part of I think our one of our strengths is that we no ego, no competition between the two of us.
That's
huge.
Then
B, every character, every idea is on the chopping block at all times. So no matter what, no matter how long we spend on it,
so you better not.
You have to be ready.
Better not fall in love.
Bail.
Falling in love.
Yeah, yeah.
Somebody might get severed. Like in episode 9 of any Game of Thrones season.
Yeah.
We always look at it like, even when you're throwing, there's no such thing as throwing away. Or rather, I should say, we should rethink about how we think about what happens when you throw something away.
No, you throw it in the bammer. You know,
Yeah,
you throw it in the Bammer, and then you lock the door.
Yeah, you kind of got this, you know, that's still your idea, and you can keep that for something else later. And a lot of those things happen. You know, there were some really cool ideas for Retaliators actually that we just couldn't make work for one reason or another. And most of those things were decided pretty early on. We weren't going to be able to do those sorts of things.
And we put those to the side and said, if this ever
bring it back out,
sequel, if this ever goes to get serialized, these are ideas we could use for that.
Yeah.
You know? We saved everything.
I kind of want to piggyback on Joel's question a little bit. Like when you guys do outlines, what does that look like? Is that a whiteboard, or is that like just like a notepad on the computer, or what are we talking about when it's like, oh, we're going to save this idea for later? What does that even look like?
Yeah, we have a we sort of took some, I told you we dove into the very formal classical structure, screenwriting kind of 101 stuff for a few years. And what we ended up doing was taking probably 3 versions of classic ways to outline, or different gurus have taught. And then we sort of came up with our own way and mixed them. And then we sort of do all of it. And so we do a huge cork board with the, you know, that's as classic as it gets, with the
yarn
cards.
Please. Oh, darn.
And then we have versions on computer. We have multiple versions on computer. We'll go back and forth.
Yeah.
What is it? 70 something scenes and you got a movie. That's what they say.
Yeah, we don't break it down. So that's what I was going to say is so where we have our cake and eat it too is we definitely don't map out. So even though we're meticulous about outlining, we don't outline every single moment of the movie. We sort of give it a general kind of, sometimes it's very specific, sometimes it's not. But then we take the attitude when we're writing that if the muse takes us away, we go away. And the character is telling us, nah, I know you did all that cute outlining work, but the characters want this situation wants this. We have committed to listening to what, you know, so we're very big on, like we've had, and that's happened many times where we'll be in the middle and one of us will go, dude, I know we did all that work and we did all those puzzle pieces, but this just doesn't feel right. Like this, we want to, these characters, they're not done fighting, or we need to stay in this house, or we need to leave this house, or we need to, it's just, and so we try to really listen. And this is where the argument for should you outline, should you not outline comes from, because people think if you outline, you lose the spontaneity. And we just feel like, well, we're just having our cake and eating it too. We
doing both.
Because when you put in that outline time, when you then get spontaneous, I feel like you sort of have a really good sense of, you know, we just spent 4 months mapping and road mapping. So even though we're taking different turns, we know the city, we know the roads. So we have a confidence to, because you ultimately may be going to the same place, or you may end up in a different place. And it's good to be nimble like that, because when you get notes, and you will get a lot, and the notes say, yeah, that ending, that's cute. Can you do it totally opposite? Can you just do it, but now do it scary? Can you do it and not do it so scary? Can you do it? You've got to be able to jump in. And so I feel like we sort of train ourselves and keep ourselves sharp, kind of doing it that way. So that's a kind of, so when it comes to the actual writing, that's sort of the shortest amount of time, because we've done so much work. That's sort of an afterthought. We put all that time in, and then now it's just dumping it into final draft and then kind of editing and cleaning up and oh yeah, we need dialogue.
So you mentioned the Muse, and I want to tap into that, and I want to actually know Jeff's opinion on this with his philosophy. And I really enjoy that is such a common thing with creators, with artists, with writers, that we kind of understand that we're tapping into something that isn't really us at times. And it's that flow state situation that gets us there the quickest, where ideas just pop into our heads from out of nowhere. And to do it as a team, and to feel that you guys are fishing in the same river at the same time. I know you guys probably have felt that. It's the same thing when us people who play in bands, we're in the jam space and we feel like we're on a roller coaster that's just taking us all on the same journey, But I want to know about, Jeff, and your philosophy background, what you feel about the Muse or the unified field, or however you want to call it, something that is the collective consciousness or something above that, where if you get into the right mindset, you become an antenna that can catch these ideas.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, that's a big question. I don't know. I mean, yeah, you bring up a few things, and so a few different things come to mind. I mean, when it comes to the Muse question, what's funny is I've always thought of the Muse as just me and Darren, or Darren for that matter. When we're writing something, I'm trying to entertain Darren, make him laugh, make him go, oh my God, oh, that's so cool. Or I'm trying to evince some kind of reaction out of him, have something that really connects to him. And I'm sure it's likewise, at least in a similar way with Darren, it's like, so it's symbiotic that way. I think a lot of it, it's funny. I do hear artists talk about, I mean, some people feel divinely inspired, or inspired by some kind of universal consciousness. I've never really felt that in creating anything. Maybe some music I felt maybe channeling nature itself in some way, in an ineffable way. But when it comes to making movies, I mean, it certainly feels like a miracle by the time we're done, after we get the idea going, and by the time we get to the end of it, it's like, wait, how did we do that? That's crazy,
Yeah.
But I can trace it back to just what is something that's, I don't know, just something that brings me back to that feeling of being like a 14-year-old hanging out in my big brother's room, and he's showing me Charles Bronson movies or something, something ridiculous. It's like, what's going to tap into that, and anything that kind of does that, I feel like, is the driving creative force when we're working together, but yeah, no, it's an interesting thought though, with the collective unconscious thing. Cause I do think certainly when you're trying to write a film or make a film, you are trying to connect to the zeitgeist in a way. I mean, maybe not consciously, but unconsciously. I mean, you're picking out a story that's happening now, and you think it's going to be entertaining for you, and you're of this time. You can't, you're not like a timeless person. You know what I mean? An ahistorical person. You're in the now with everybody else. So you certainly tap into that for sure. And as you know, like all storytelling, if you're like a Jungian or something, you think all the important elements of storytelling are there in us subconsciously, on a genetic level, when we come out the womb ready to hear the hero's journey. Right. And so this is all just tapping into that over and over and over again. But like the why it keeps changing is because, well, things change over time. You know what I mean? New generations pop up every 10, 15 years, and things just change. Audiences what exactly they want is going to change in each generation. So the old story goes on, So yeah, we tap into that, if that's there.
I have kind of
Darren, I wanted to ask you the same question.
Yeah, I have kind of two ways of looking at it. One is, as far as a flow state goes and tapping into it, I have had many experiences of that, and ones that really I never experiences I never forgot, like moments, especially when I was very active in writing music, and Jeff and I both played in bands together, and I did that for years. But I mean, I would definitely get I would have moments of I would be nowhere near a guitar and go, oh shit, I got a song in me right now. And I'd have no melody in my head at all. I've written, I don't even know, hundreds of songs probably. Not saying they're all good, but I've written easily hundreds. And I've never heard a melody ever in my head.
It was in your hands. It was in your arms waiting to come out.
Yeah, that's always how I've looked at it. I don't ever know what's going to come out, but yes, I can feel my fingers I got to get my hands on a guitar right now. And so I've had moments of like racing home, running to the guitar, sit down, and then a song come out. There's a song called "Stop Looking at Me" on our record Jeff and I did. Song I'm super proud of. That song came out start to end, verse, chorus, lyrics, totally formed. And so that was one of those moments where I went, well, fuck, I really don't feel like I did that, because I didn't hear that melody. I didn't hear that riff. Those chords were weird. That was a cool,
I just had that song stuck in my head the other day. Shout out to Hong Kong 6, by the way. That's the band. He's not saying it purposely.
Yeah, we're gonna dig into dig into the music.
Hong Kong 6 on Spotify.
Darren, I actually have a question about your experience there. Because this is sort of what I was on to as well, was like, did you experience it as something external to you that was somehow coming into you, then running out? Like, or did you experience it as something that was just buried inside?
Good question.
Because I feel more the latter when I do that stuff.
Like more like it's buried inside and you're sort of turning the faucet on.
I could tell by your response to the question, Jeff, that you are more of a grounded here person. Like exposing yourself to the muse means you're exposing yourself to the universe, but you're just using Darren as a conduit, which is right here with you. You like things right here, and maybe your ideas are felt as coming from you versus somewhere else.
Yeah. So I could say, Jeff, that definitely the way, what I was going to say, adding to that, it happens with, so the version of writing where that happens is Jeff and I pile up a lot of what's called log lines, which are sort of, just a fancy way of saying movie idea. But you hope with a log line, you want to have something in there, some sense of irony, some kind of conflict, something to where the ideal log line is you can write it down, forget about it, and pick it up a year later and have
have that same idea.
Right. Or either go, this sucks, or go, whoa, there's a movie here. I see this. And so Jeff and I write these constantly, and we check in with each other constantly. We'll call each other. When we see each other, or I'll just write them down. And there are times similar to that songwriting thing where I will have this sort of where I feel that thing of like, oh wait, I got to get to a computer because I can. It is a weird sensation. It's a sensation of there's something there, and I don't even know what it is per
So it's
se.
the same thing as the guitar riff. You have something. You just have this feeling of getting something out of you.
It's a sensation, and then I get on there, and Jeff, one of the scripts we wrote, Rodeo Joe. I think I had told you, Jeff, that was where that first monologue came from. That whole first thing. It just was the no idea where that came from. It was these prisoners talking to each other in prison. Literally no idea where it came from. It just came out. So it is a weird thing.
No one's ready for Rodeo Joe. No one is ready for Rodeo Joe.
Where it went from there is.
I'm ready for Rodeo Joe, dude. Somebody needs to show me Rodeo Joe right now.
Put into a different movie, but
we're psyched on that one. That's a good one. I did look at it as, if you're asking, did it feel like inside ready to bubble out or something coming from somewhere else? It always felt to me like it is coming from somewhere else. Like I'm channeling it, and it isn't coming from me. And I think only because I don't, when I've read other songwriters, and watched a lot of interviews, I had this melody in my head, and I had this da da da. And so when I hear those stories, I feel like, oh, okay, that feels to me, in my interpretation, like they had that melody, they were cooking or putting it together, and it's just never how I wrote. It always sort of came out in these formed chunks that I just was like, well, where did that come from? And what I wanted to say, the second part about working with Jeff, and this is where it maybe is a little different from jamming, because with jamming, which spent, God knows, cumulative years of my life jamming, jamming is about getting on a plane with each other and getting in a riff, a groove, a pocket. You obviously you can start talking about it and start getting intellectual about it, but there's also that sort of when you're just jamming, right? And when you're on that, but writing with Jeff is really what I think is so great. And I would recommend to any writer who is writing with the team, or anybody getting feedback or just anything, is that I think one of the most beneficial things Jeff and I bring to each other is that Jeff constantly challenges my ideas, and I constantly challenge Jeff's ideas. So you may think, oh, we're brothers, we've grown up on the same movies, we have similar tastes, so we just we just eat up each other's
scientists
all day, and it is
well, you're constantly putting one another in the bammer, is what I'm hearing. Is you lock each other away. This idea, dude.
Over here.
What you're saying, I think, Darren, I think what's the big thing that you're saying is like when a conflicting argument comes, like, no, I think this should happen with this, and this is that you guys go like, ooh, this is fun. This is like a constructive thing we can do to find something.
Somebody that's going to tell you the truth.
We get to a better place, because again, we're not going ego. We're not fighting for
the ego part. Yeah,
we're not fighting for word count. There's no egos involved. So we're truly just trying to find the best idea. And what Jeff's talking about, I share with him 100%, which is I want to make Jeff laugh. I want to make him squirm. I want to make him, if I've worked on something, I want to make him scared. I want him to read it and go, dude, I couldn't go to sleep.
It happens a lot.
Right. Or I want him to read it and laugh, or I want him to write. And it's like many times I'll bring him something and he'll go, I don't really understand where this is at.
And that tells you everything.
It makes me have to go, okay, well, let's talk about it. What is not connecting here? Why wasn't this a slam dunk? And same thing, Jeff will go, hey, I think blah, blah, blah. And I'll go, let's. So that's one big difference. Because if you did that in a jam room, here's an A. You know what? With that A, can you actually, if you did that at every chord, you would screw up the flow of a jam. And that's one big difference, is that in writing, it really is about, and that's what I mean by we spend that long period of time outlining. We're really beating up all of these beats. We sort of, the love fest is at that original, this idea, what that big broad, like, okay, we know where we want to go in this general. Then once we get into the particulars, we're trying to please each other, but it's a task, it's not going to be
sounds
easy.
Like it's so collaborative, you know what I mean? Like in a way, I'm always trying to like relate it back to music, because that's I don't write lyrics and poetry like Anthony. I don't write screenplays,
but you write
but I
riffs.
You're a riff master.
The riff master.
Thanks,
All
fellas.
right, go on.
But when I think about like what you're talking about, like there's so much to say, because like I don't want to take up too much, but it's like when I think about like that process of like, oh, it's the written word, it's right there. You know what I mean? Like it's right there. Whereas opposed to like when because I look for the same feedback from band members, where I'll be like, I'm going to go present this song. And boy, it better be dialed. It better have all the frills and all the stuff inlaid. And then if I don't get the reaction, I just throw it in the bammer and then it's gone. But or I rework it or whatever. But it's not that specific, right? Because it's music. So it's a little bit more like, well, what, does it need to be a little bit more of this, a little bit more of that? I'm not actually sure. It's kind of hard to talk about. But with the writing stuff, especially the way you guys are going at it, where it's like from start to finish, you guys are just collaborating at Del Taco and El Pollo Loco, and just doing the whole thing start to finish. And it's like every little riff that you guys are going back and forth on is it's like you guys are so involved in every little piece of it. You know what I mean? So it's like, and I feel like there's no hiding behind like, well, dude, you just don't understand because look, dude, that chord progression that comes back around in the pre-chorus. Well, so there's none of that, right?
Yeah, Carrie and Jeff brought up like Pollo Loco. Like you guys maybe are working on something and something falls in your lap, and then maybe it might be something that could do with the thing or an idea that can come from the chicken falling on your lap. You can be like, oh, dude, actually. This is hilarious.
This sounds like the greatest dad joke ever, but like long, like stretched out.
I guess what I'm getting at, Joel,
falls out on your lap, and beans and cheeses everywhere.
It could be like a funny thing you guys laugh about. You're like, oh, dude, we got to put this in somehow. We got to make this work. You know what I mean? Like,
we do that. Happens all the time. That happens.
I guess, but we're gonna put it in there.
Yeah,
he scoops into his nachos too fast, and then
you can jam though, and like something funny will happen, and you'll be like, "Oh, actually, that sounds kind of cool."
The jam stuff's a weird one, but what I was gonna say with the writing is like, there's no amount of bad first act that you're gonna ever go like, dude, all this garbage really pays off when we get to that last chorus. I'm telling you, you know what I mean? Like that doesn't work that way. You know what I mean? It's like
twist.
It's like, no, the whole thing's got to be dialed. You know what I mean?
I'll tell you this. Some of my best ideas, I think, have come when I was the least confident about them. They hit me strong, but then I go to Darren and they probably had the biggest prefaces than anything. I'd be like, hey, dude, I know this. It's going to sound really stupid. I don't even know why I thought it. You know what I mean? I don't even know I'm bringing it to you, but here it is, and it'll get like a huge reaction out of Darren, and I'll be like, "Oh, actually, it was good."
I mentioned to you like that. The whole time I was confident about it.
You're worried about. I usually always really yeah, it's true.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how it works out.
There's certain times in life, and actually,
not being afraid of being. Here's another huge part of it: is just don't be afraid of sounding stupid.
Totally.
Don't be proud of. You're gonna
just
write
throw it out there. Just let the universe figure it out. I mean. For me, like I was noticing, this is gonna sound really dumb. Notice my shirt. when whenever I go pee, whenever I'm pissing, I have like this like I look, everything comes together in my brain like, oh, this is why this is happening,
and
this
you
is
don't
why,
write it down.
and it's like really quickly. Oh, it's like, oh, you have to ask this question. Or what's going on? Like, it's just when I pee and I calm and I just don't. My ego's gone.
Yeah, no, that's why they say like ideas come to you in the shower. They come to you in the car. It's whenever you're doing idle things like taking a piss.
It's right. Like it just levels my brain out, and I'm like, oh. I need to do it like this. And
so what you're saying is you just need to have Darren in there while you're taking a piss.
Dude, bounce ideas off him.
Bounce ideas off him.
I'm in.
While you're taking a yeah. No, it's actually like been a big deal for me the last like 2 or 3 weeks. When I pee, I'm like, I have all these like, because I'm like very AD, all over the place. My brain's constantly jumping all over the place. And when I pee, it like calms down. I'm like, oh yeah, that. And I'm like, oh that's so sick. Like, why didn't I think about this the whole time? And I'm like, why is it always pee? I don't know.
But like, right now it's probably just like Chiefs.
There's a thing I totally stole. I tell Jeff about it all the time. I stole it from 100% stole it from Stephen King.
Oh my God, On Writing. Is that what you're about to talk about?
Fantastic book on writing.
We were talking about that book,
Anthony, what's up, bro? Come on, dude.
Yeah, dude. I know. I need to get on the writing train, dude.
Real quick side note: when you guys were talking about whether with Jeff, whether it comes from like, oh, it feels like something in me that's coming out, or with Darren, where it's like I feel like I'm putting a catcher's mitt out,
right?
And then I just Stephen King in that book lays that second part out so beautifully, where he's like, I just show up to the the computer, and cocaine, then I just put my
cigarettes,
nothing but cocaine and Bud Light.
Depends what decade, right?
Yeah, what decade?
He's all, I met Jerry Bruckheimer and now I'm addicted to cocaine. It's weird. And then he's got this great thing about like, I just show up, and one of the things he says is he writes for the wastebasket, right? Where he's like, I just show up for 8 hours a day because he's Stephen King and he's rich and he can just afford to write all day. But it's like, he's like, I write for the wastebasket
of all beasts. I mean, the guy.
And then he's like, I just put the Ethernet out. Ethernet, get it? Yeah, God damn it. And then I just catch whatever is going to come to me. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's very cool. Anyway, Darren,
actually,
take it away.
Ethernet still works with what you were saying, by the way, casting a net into the ether, dude.
Yeah.
I work in IT, so let's not talk about Ethernets right now.
Well, Stephen King is, by the way, a notorious anti-outliner. So he's one of there's a lot of so keep in mind with on writing, it's not like I look at every word as sacrosanct, but it is brilliant and it is so good.
Yeah.
What I wanted to mention that I totally stole and I use every day. I tried to use it every day and it works so well. It made me think of Joel with your pissing clarity.
There's methamphetamine. I use it every day.
Yeah.
I just get the best ideas when I shoot meth with heroin. It's weird. I just don't understand.
Screenwriting is amphetamine. Okay.
Here's his advice, dude. Coke and iced tea, bro. No, he does this thing where he said when he lays down, and I remember when I first read it, I went, man, that sounds crazy. I don't think I could ever do that. Now I'm addicted to it and I do it every night, like every night. He said when he lays down at night, he closes his eyes and lets his mind wander what story is speaking to him. And then he watches the story play out and just watches it. And so what I try to do, I try to kind of control it by going, whatever script we're working on, the one we were just working on, every night when I lay down, I close my eyes, I start at page 1. And really it's page 1 of the movie and I watch it.
What page do you fall asleep?
Well, here's the thing. It's very calming and it's very meditative, and I go to sleep really kind of fast, actually. But I also very often will have, much like we're talking about dialing into the catcher's mitt to the universe kind of deal.
Yeah.
I would very often close my eyes, and all of a sudden conversations would just appear as if I was watching them in a movie. And I would listen to them. I would get into this kind of zoned out middle, sort of middle state where I'd be watching characters talk. And then I'd go, and then I would do I mixed it with I took the Stephen King and I mixed it with the Paul McCartney rule, which the Paul McCartney rule was him and John, he talked about it was the days before the technology and iPhones. They would write a riff and test and see, do we remember it the next day? And if they remember the melody and the riff, they knew it was a winner. If they couldn't remember it, they went, okay, on to the next, because they never stopped writing. And if they woke up and went, oh, this is how it went, and went, ba, 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 that's how they knew. And so I don't even write it down. So if I start having good epiphanies and I start going, I'll just loop it a bunch of times and go, oh, that's sick. And then I'll wake up in the morning and do a little like, okay, what was I thinking about? Oh yeah, there was that conversation. Who was it? Oh, it was. And then I'll go straight, put on coffee, go to the keyboard and copy down what I was watching the night before. And I do that all the time. And I tell Jeff about it. It's crazy, but I completely stole that from Stephen King.
That's cool, because you can take like an idea that you thought you had and make it a different version of it, like as a game of telephone from one day to the other.
Yeah,
you know, like this is what it was, and like you actually heard the actual riff, like that's not even close.
Yeah,
but, you know, like just like whatever your interpretation is the next day of it is actually a really cool technique to like makes, rather than just like doing the old the guy that John Tesh doing the NBA on NBC thing. He did it, and he just he does it. He's just all like he like calls his answering machine. He's just all like, hey, so it's all beep. He like plays it live when he like does the show. He's just all like, oh, so an idea for the NBA and NBC thing is all and actually Carrie showed me that when she went to go pee right now. But like it literally like, and then just they really jump right in the song, and it's like it was just a quick thought he had. It was just like, but he like called himself and left the message, and then he wrote the song around it, and it's like the most the biggest
what Aaron's even talking about is like, all right, I'm laying in bed, I'm gonna hear this melody in my head, and if it
take it and make it something different the next day.
He didn't call an answering machine. He didn't fucking write it down or anything like that, But
you made a point to try to remember it like that whole night. You're like, all right, I got it. Yeah. What's it gonna be tomorrow? And then make it something different. That's cool. Yeah. That's really cool. I like that a lot.
And if you do it every night, you get. I think if you did it once or twice, it would sort of melt into your dreams and into your kind of your brain. But I mean, truly doing it every night, it becomes such a habit that I really am used to checking in the next day and going, all right, what was the, and I'll know, I knew how effective it became because I would just find myself, Jeff, how often do I say that, right? Where I'll go, dude, the other night I was sitting there and then all of a sudden,
almost every time you come with an idea, it's like, oh yeah, I was going to bed and
it's a cool brain exercise.
The movie, and then here's what I saw, you know what I mean? Then
that's
and
cool.
Then we tackle it, you know?
Yeah. And it doesn't always mean it's good, but you get some good
absolutely
get some good stuff. But just speaking to your clarity thing, Joel, because I think it's that same thing. It's like, look, don't take for granted the gift of laying down, eyes closed, the phone isn't ringing. The world, for as far as you're concerned, is shut down. Let the clarity happen for you right there,
Right.
Well, the problem is that Joel goes to bed to Shane Gillis every night. You know what I mean? And
then I piss, and then I figure out my life.
No, but it's all the same thing that we're talking about, guys. Like from Darren's perspective versus Jeff's perspective, it's all the same thing.
Well, these are cool.
In Darren's world, you're opening yourself up to something, and then Jeff, you're just saying, I'm gonna get rid of all the bullshit and let something come out of me.
Right.
That like all the let's get to a point where we get rid of the most amount of filters that we possibly can, and then just let something erupt, you know?
Yeah, and you somebody brought up something that's very key is distractions. Or Darren, you were talking about it. You know, that's what you get there is like there's no distractions. No one's, you know, I mean, sometimes something might interrupt it, but for the most part, that's you're alone with your thoughts.
Yeah.
No one's calling you, you know, nothing's pulling you in this direction or that direction.
The bills are paid, or at least you're not thinking about them.
Yeah,
exactly. That's the best. I mean, as you guys probably know too, with like recording music, it's the same. It's or even writing music, it's all vibe, you know. And that's what's great about the room that Darren's in right now. That the reason, part of the reason why that works so well for us writing is it's got a vibe. It's got a vibe of we want to have fun making this.
I want to feel that vibe so hard.
I can't imagine that's the room like Hereditary was written in. Ari Aster, of course, you know, the brilliant filmmaker.
Yeah.
But he, I just don't imagine him in that kind of room because his movies are different. They have a different vibe. So you bring the vibe of however you set it up into the music.
Very interesting.
I mean, into the movies as well. So
yeah, Hereditary was written in like someone's attic, you know.
Yeah,
like,
that's an attic.
Yeah,
that's an attic.
Multiple hotel rooms,
like box, or you know what I mean, and blowing the dust off.
It's like this beam looks like a light pole. What if she? No,
that's really cool though. Darren, your room is really cool because it does bring kind of like just looking at the background. I have a vibe. I have a going to a record store. I have a certain time in my head. I have what I'm going to look for when I get in that record store. Like what I'm looking for. Like what aisle I'm going down. Like immediately.
Records is
I have that immediately.
It's cool that you say that too, because like that is something. It's one of the good things about using this room for Jeff and I is we will, as we're writing, we both have, you know, are pretty encyclopedic in our funky ways of different genres and movies and different things. And what's cool is there's so many movies in here, you know, God knows, I mean, I don't even know, hundreds, thousand, whatever there is in here.
Is there a David Lynch film on VHS around you right now?
Oh, you got to have one.
Yeah, let's see.
Got Fire Walk with Me sitting right there, dude. It's always got to be in the background.
Probably got Elephant Man, right?
Yeah, Elephant Man is. Oh, look at this, right behind me.
What do you got?
Right behind me.
Dude, that's what's
behind me, bro.
So here's my spiel on Dune, not Dune.
I was going to ask you what's your vibe on the new Dune.
I love the new Dune.
I actually am one of those guys. I'm like, I don't know if I want to go.
Dude,
watch
you need to watch it. It's
I know.
Phenomenal.
It is.
I know. I need to step out. Well, this is my thing real quick. David Lynch will not even put his name on anything that has to do with Dune because he didn't get final cut. That was the last time that's the last time he didn't get final cut in anything that he's done. And it was such a horrible experience for him. I personally love the movie because I love sci-fi, and I love that what he did with a lot of the characters in that story. But I also need to disassociate myself from being the Lynchian that I am, and actually see it as Frank Herbert's and not David Lynch's, because he doesn't even want to put his name on it. But I'm still like, oh, dude, the first Dune, nah, come on.
They should have given him a two-parter. You know what I love about that Lynch Dune thing? This is what I really love about it is they found
spicy take coming.
What's that?
Spicy take coming.
Spicy take coming, dude. This is what's so wonderful about the Lynch Dune is that they found the most batshit crazy director and they gave him a ton of money. They were just like, you know what's big right now? Star Wars. So, hey, David Lynch, hey, we would really like you to make a nice big space opera for us. And he was like, I will absolutely do that with the nipple rings and everything. Like, I will absolutely nail it. And then he went out and made Dune, which, again, like if his original vision and all that stuff, but I just love that they gave David Lynch a sack of money and said, "Go make a space opera." And then he made that. And I know it didn't turn out the way he wanted and all that stuff, but I enjoy the behind the scenes, like George Lucas, who's that? David Lynch, Let's get David Lynch.
Well, not only that, George Lucas actually approached Lynch to do a Star Wars.
Yeah.
And Lynch said no because
oh my god, I wonder which one it was.
I think it's Return of the Jedi, bro.
Jedi.
Could you imagine a Lynch Jedi with the Palpatine and everything? That would have been insane.
The lore is that George Lucas, no, it wasn't after Dune.
Oh, Jabba the Hutt, dude. Oh my god.
Eraserhead is actually a very, very renowned film amongst the early directors. Even Stanley Kubrick calls that his favorite film. And George Lucas had approached Lynch to do the second Star Wars, and Lynch looked at it and said, "This is too much your vision. I can't touch this."
Right.
Yeah. So wait. Did he want him to do Empire Strikes Back or Return of the
Jedi? I'm being, because I'm not enough a Star Wars fan to really remember that. I just know that
he went back to his teacher in film school to do the second one, which is that's my favorite, obviously. And then the third film was like an auteur, like a young gun guy.
Yeah. So it may
Lucas went buck wild for Jedi. You know who the other person that he made the offer for Jedi was? Cronenberg.
No. Okay, then that had to have been Lynch too, dude. For sure.
Yeah. Lucas was totally, I mean,
Lucas is out of his mind. What a badass.
I mean, he was just such a
well, we hear him speak about movies,
the system kind of guy that he was. I'm sure he would have loved to. Yeah, like you said, he had his film teacher do Empire Strikes Back. So I mean, he was going to be completely.
He was like an ultimate nerd. Everyone frames him as like this corporate guy, but he's like He's
completely not a corporate guy, at least with his taste.
He's a total introvert. He's like, he's
nerd, art house films. He loves the art, that if you hear George Lucas in interviews, it's kind of striking if you think of him as that corporate guy, because you're like, you almost get the sense like he's almost ashamed of Star Wars a little bit, because he's his other movie buff friends are going to think it's like, not cool enough or something.
He's like this closet dork. Yeah.
Apocalypse Now enough or something,
Yeah. He dresses like,
no, George, you did well, man. I mean, you did.
It's like, bro, dude, it's okay.
More than just a kiddie movie. You know what I mean? But I've heard that call it like a kiddie movie and stuff. It's like, has a hard time, realizing that his films are just as important as, his contemporaries that he.
Yeah, I think the musicians though, same thing with you go and you compliment people enough, they're just like, they kind of go like, it's all right. What I did was it's all good what I did, but it's like, I mean, besides the $3 million a month that you're getting from Disneyland, so was it that good, or was it's like,
oh yeah, he's like, look, I don't regret it.
Exactly.
But it's like, but you know how it is. It's like the guy who doesn't get talked about a lot in the press.
Mm-hmm.
Like everyone thinks is a genius. It's like you kind of wish. I'm sure he must want to be that guy sometimes. Like the Brian De Palma or something.
Yeah, no, definitely. Because he was also like in that crowd, right? Like he was in that crowd of those guys. And then he accidentally made like the biggest film of all time. Fuck.
Accidentally made like the biggest film of the century.
Yeah, no, like Spielberg made Jaws, and then Star Wars came along. And Spielberg's like, whatever, dude. You're the sellout now, dude. And then no, that shit is funny. That's funny because God, Cronenberg, a Cronenberg Return of the Jedi. Or a Lynch Return of the Jedi would have been
insanity. Both would have just been such a. I mean, what a what a movie both of those would have been. I mean,
if we're gonna talk, I want to talk to these guys because you guys know films like Jodorowsky's Dune. Like, what have you watched that documentary? Darren,
you know what?
or Jeff?
I've never. You know what? I've never.
Okay.
Never.
Let me just give you a little.
I haven't done a Dune dive. You know what I mean?
Okay. Not even that. Not even that.
Not a very
Dude, I've done a Dune dive. But who's done a Dune dive? Who's done a Dune dive?
I've not done a Dune dive.
Done a Dune dive?
I've been in so long. I couldn't tell you, but
off of a fucking sandworm, just dive into a dune real quick.
Anthony, is there? Anthony, I've seen a little bit of this. Is there anything beyond like the concept art? Because the concept art is incredible.
So let me just give a little synopsis or whatever, a little introduction to Jodorowsky's Dune. Alejandro Jodorowsky. You guys familiar with him, Darren and Jeff? He did The Holy Mountain. That was a famous indie film of the 70s that John Lennon actually put up $1 million for that movie to be made, and that was based on Alejandro Jodorowsky's earlier film El Topo. It's a foreign film. He's a Chilean dude who's really into meditation and supernatural shit, and anyways, he's a director, and after The Holy Mountain, he was the one who decided to take Frank Herbert's Dune. Didn't even read it. Wow. He was just like, I want to break this out, and read it along and worked with this guy. Oh man, I'm forgetting his name now. He's very famous artist at the time, graphic novel artist.
It wasn't Sid Mead, was it?
No, it starts with an O. His last name starts with an O, or something. It's not Orpheus. It's something like that. He would go by that though. Something like
Redmacher.
Either way, doesn't matter. They work together later on, but they basically Jodorowsky opened up the Dune story into this crazy sci-fi psychedelic thing, and him and this graphic novel artist worked together, compiled this gigantic graphic novel, and that's how they presented it to all the production companies in Hollywood. This is our screenplay. That's what
it was. It was kind of like a quasi storyboard. Like it was kind of neat because I've seen a little bit of it because it's kind of legendary, and it's wild. It's wild looking.
To flip through this thing,
Pitch Bible.
So you watch this documentary, and I'm giving away the whole reason why they did this documentary. It's a really, really well done documentary, but it basically shows that since Jodorowsky wasn't a known director at the time, nobody wanted to go with him as the director of the movie. But they kept those graphic novels, and all the big production companies kept them all. And then they started seeing these ideas,
the designs,
in all these other sci-fi movies that came.
Oh wow!
After that, up until after the documentary came out, Prometheus was one of the biggest ones because H.R. Giger, he was a part of Jodorowsky's previous work, and he was also a part of Alien and all that stuff. And there's some stuff that literally they did a comparison. It's lifted straight out of this graphic novel that Jodorowsky and I can't fucking remember his name. God damn it,
dude. If you're good at computers, we can figure this out right away.
Anthony, this is the reason everyone's on strike right now. Okay, because you cannot remember the name.
Jodorowsky's Dune is the documentary, and you will find a lot more information there than what I'm trying to spew through being very stoned right now.
So
Morpheus.
here's my follow-up question, and maybe we can put Dune to rest after this. So they didn't want to go.
Terry, I think we're gonna have to put me to rest after this.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Let's start wrapping it up.
No,
Yeah,
no,
I
didn't realize how late it was.
Darren's face. Look at Darren's face. He's
I
went too long on Dune. Sorry.
Yeah, you guys look over it.
Boys, I
didn't go like, I'll be in bed soon. I'll be in bed soon.
Yeah, I got a sandworm pillow, like body pillow that
all right, I got a glide path in mind, maybe 8 minutes.
No,
so
I was looking
Maybe
up
8 minutes.
the dude. I was looking up Orville.
Okay.
No, I said Orville Redenbacher. That was my joke. I don't think that's actually something you should.
I'm gonna look it up right now.
I gotta ask this before
Carrie,
we go.
spit it out and.
Tis the season.
Well,
Jeff, go ahead. Jeff.
Is it Jean Mobius Gerard?
Mobius, there you go.
Yes. Hey, go to Morpheus.
I was almost there. I said Orpheus, right? I was very close.
He was, and so was fucking Ian.
Orpheus, dude. That's a dope band name. Sick Drummer Magazine. No, they mentioned space. They don't think I didn't see you taking space. What was the space opera?
Oh yeah,
space opera. Yeah, they're like, that's a cool band name. I'm like,
shout out to Ian real quick. Love you, brother.
I'm always on the band name.
That's called The Fifth Element, right? Space opera. I mean,
dude, space opera is kind of a sick name, dude.
That's fucking.
That's a power metal. That's like a space power metal band.
Let me
we'll
ask
blank all this stuff out later. So it'll be like, dude,
this is a
really good name, dude.
Yeah, it's a very metal topic.
I'll beep it all out.
Okay. This is a very metal topic I want to shift to just real quick before we all go to bed. Okay.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing more metal than the atomic bomb. I think we can all agree on this.
Oh shit!
Have you guys seen Oppenheimer?
No,
Who's seen Oppenheimer? Raise of hands.
It's one I really want
That's
to see.
it.
You want to know how many times I've seen Oppenheimer?
3. Shit.
7
times,
bro.
7 times.
And by Sunday, it will be 9.
Whoa.
It's going out of IMAX.
That's how good it is.
70 millimeter.
No, when I saw the
this movie is a revelation, you guys.
I saw the preview for it and I was like, oh, this must be. They were talking about the things, and I was like, "This is Oppenheimer." It's all Oppenheimer. I was like, called it, and I was like, "I need to see this." Like, but
real.
I've truly wanted to see that film. Right now, I work in the Bay. My family's up 2 hours away from me right now. I want to see it with my wife, and every time I get up there, it's just like, well, that's 2 hours away from the kids, or 3 hours away from the kids.
So 1 out of 10, Jeff.
1 out of 10.
Oppenheimer.
Dude,
whoa! You got to do a blacklist scale though.
Yeah, blacklist scale.
You got to be brutal.
I'm telling you, it's like asking how do you
what's another 10? We have to what is actually sorry.
Here's what I'm saying.
What's the highest point of
it's like asking from a 1 to 10, what do you rate 2001 Space Odyssey? Like, how do you? It's beyond scale. It's not even.
It's like, look, it's like 10. It's like 10 is 2001. 0 is a Floppenheimer.
Dude, I'm giving Oppenheimer a 10, dude. I'm giving that.
Okay.
10. He's a 10.
Oh my god, I'm so excited! I'm gonna see this. We have friends that like went to they traveled to San Francisco to see it. Like the exact.
Wait. Jeff. So wait a minute. Would you call? I'm gonna put you on the spot. Would you put Sorcerer as a 10?
Yeah.
Sorcerer.
Would you put Once Upon a Time in the West as a 10?
Yeah, it feels like Once Upon a Time in the West to me. Sorcerer. It's those movies that you go to keep getting that feeling you can't get from anything else. It's just there's something.
So you're saying it's on that plane?
To me,
so when I think of 10 movies,
it's like a massage parlor. I'm just kidding.
What's
your 10? Carrie the Pest.
He's all actually executive decision. Steven Seagal and
Executive Decision is nothing to sneeze at, Jeff.
No,
okay?
Ollie Berry
that is a solid flick.
Dude,
Are
Ollie
we
Berry
degrading?
was
We're not degrading Seagal on this podcast, are we?
He dies very early on, by the way.
I mean,
so, you know,
I could jump in if you guys need.
I'm not right out of that
early.
I'd say it's Terminator 2 comes to mind almost immediately.
T2, bro. That's my other favorite film of all time.
T2 is my favorite movie of all time.
That's how to get a real
T2
10.
comes to mind immediately.
That's how to get a real 10 out of Jeff, by the way.
It is. That
is a true 10.
So
that's 11.
It's T2, bro. But you know what? It's interesting that you bring up T2 because
now he's going to backpedal. He's like, Oppenheimer's not quite as good as T2.
I'm adding to it.
But...
I'm adding to it. Because I look at James Cameron and I think Christopher Nolan and James Cameron have a lot in common, actually.
They do.
I think they're both like spectacle directors, you know, that started in non-spectacle filmmaking. You know, it was Cameron a little more into it because he was still doing action sci-fi.
Cameron is an action master, though.
But he's an action master.
His background was special effects, right? That's like how he came up.
Yeah,
he's like, I was a truck driver, and then
he's a truck
started
driver.
doing backgrounds, you know, for fucking whatever.
The only other movie I've seen 7 times in the theater or that much was Titanic when I was like 10 or 11 years old.
I agree. I didn't want to be the first to say it, but
I just wanted
Titanic, I was fucking blown away.
Fucking ship sink. I wanted to be in that ship while it was sinking.
Oh,
that's why I saw it 7 times. And that's why I keep seeing Oppenheimer. It's like I keep wanting to see the Trinity test. I keep wanting to relive that. Like,
all right, I'm sold.
I was right there. You know, it's so visceral, dude.
So you're saying
Cameron together. I mean, come on. All right.
I'm in your boat, Anthony. It's really hard to do a 3.5 hour commitment with. I got 4.
Kid.
It's
we're wrapping up right now.
Yeah, no.
Thank you guys very much for coming on.
There's
Gary's gonna do another speech. It's gonna be another 15.
Darren wasn't finished with what he was saying.
Podcast.
Joel,
I'm gonna mute myself.
Let's wrap this up at the pisser, dude. Come on, let's do it.
Yeah, but I agree, dude.
Hey, let's all piss. You guys
Darren with me, it's like it's gonna be really.
I pissed in a glass.
Stop, Joel.
I pissed in a glass. Sorry. Because
I have
to control all the things. Usually, there's other people that can control the camera angles, and I I was like, I had to pee.
There's usually 14 other hosts on this podcast.
I'm like the wacky one that can be like, "Oh, cool, I'm gonna leave for a while." And I was like, "Oh shit, I can't hand that off to anyone." I have
the
to
camera
pee in
follows
a
you around the house. I get it. You got some jackass shit going on, dude. I like the vibe.
I'm actually a pretty mellow guy, but the Chiefs lost today, so I'm a little weird today. Anyways, that's my Oppenheimer is the Chiefs.
Dude,
my whole point with this
you're
is
gonna feel a lot better, bro. It's all gonna.
I do want to see Oppenheimer, and I want to watch it with my wife. I can't. That doesn't work because I end up getting up, like Darren was saying. I get up there and I just feel the vibes of the kids, and I'm just like, oh, I gotta be around the kids the whole weekend.
It's hard. It's a long hour. I told Jeff. I said that's a non. Kids having commitment of time that he is.
Oh, it is, dude.
But if you're adult time,
2 hours is cool.
Okay,
you can pull it off.
When you watch it at home, the lights will be off, and that sound is cranked up, dude. Because it's a very.
That's how I gotta watch.
It's all about the sound design and the score, dude. That is.
See, that's my thing, dude.
At all. Yeah.
And Carrie's actually got me really into like the scores of mute. Like I listen to movie scores.
I'm like
all the time. He has a mix on Spotify that he sent me, and he updates it all the time. And when I'm working, like doing IT stuff, I just throw that on. I just go in flow state, and I'm just easy. Like my brain is completely focused.
That's mostly what Jeff and I write to. Score. I'll try to curate. I'll try to curate like a playlist with the vibes of like where we're kind of at, and it's the best.
A lot of Tangerine Dream.
Actually, but I have a distinct memory of listening to. Actually, I'm wearing the shirt right now. Escape from New York score over and over and over and over again while we were writing our second script. I remember we had a real tight deadline on it too, so it was like that would always get me in the mode.
John Carpenter's great. We've written a lot of John Carpenter. Yeah.
Dude, music is so important in like any feeling in any movie there's certain parts where I'm like, dude, if there was no music here, you wouldn't feel any of this. This would be like walk in the park.
Well, you can check it out on YouTube. I mean, you can watch scenes on YouTube with the music stripped out, and it's like, man,
it's like weird. You're like, you want to like not watch it anymore.
Wait, speaking of, you guys remember that Mick Jagger, David Bowie song that they took the music out? Dancing on the street, they're crazy people. It's like he was gonna be something
well, I mean, there's like moments in movies that I watch, like newer movies and stuff that are like very heavy. But I'm like, dude, if you played a clown song right now, we would all be like laughing and like,
or like the sitcoms, dude. Big Bang Theory,
heavy, but like if you dropped a clown song on this, we would all be like high fiving and laughing.
Oh, I love this.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you're just like, oh shit.
Watching a death scene
to put that into, right? I mean, just like, oh god,
Joel's watching a heart-wrenching death scene, and he's like, "What if we played clown music right now?"
Yeah, exactly. I'm understanding like the vibe the whole room is feeling. Everyone's like, it was like, if there was no music here, it wouldn't be that sad. It'd be sad, but it wouldn't be that sad.
Right.
But I'm like, if you fucking played clown music right now, I just want to see everyone's fucking face during the child dying. What the fuck you're trying to portray? I was like, I would just want to see
dying.
So I mean, no, that's the worst thing. I'm trying to think of the worst thing I could think of, but like a really sad scene. If you were to play like a funny clown song, I would love to see like that's like I'd be like, I would love to see that like in a theater of like people like.
You know what it reminds me of, Joel? I always think this, like, I always want to see a movie that's completely dead serious. There is no joke, and then there's just one scene towards the end where like somebody rips a fart or something, and then look at each other.
That's
just
me.
like,
this is for me.
That's the same thing. Yeah,
totally deaf for the rest of the movie. You know what I mean? You're like,
and then right back to it. Yeah.
Or just like a random fart scene in the middle, just like, and like, oh, the rest of it's serious, but like you have to like catch back onto the seriousness after the weird fart thing. You're like, I can get back onto this.
But you know what? You can actually totally pull it off. One movie, excellent, amazing movie. You guys are gonna know. Absolutely no score. No Country for Old Men has no orchestral score to it at all.
Speaking of brothers,
that's like one of the
so you can do it. That's like the
Yeah.
grindcore of fucking.
That's
another 10 for me.
That's a 10 for me.
That's a 10.
That's a win.
No Hans Zimmer in there for you, dude.
Along with Fargo, I'll throw Fargo in there,
dude. And a great score on Fargo too. Like that's one of the best scores ever. And then like you go to No Country for Old Men, it's like they made a point. They're like, we want no score, dude.
That's
like, you guys crushed it.
There is a
Holy
true
crap.
poet. You talk about poetry. There is a poetry to all Coen Brothers dialogue, but there's something about No Country. Every single line it's the rhythm, it's the word choice, it's the succinct brevity. It's that movie. I mean,
it's like the other side of a Quentin Tarantino vibe. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like it's so dialogue heavy.
Even Burn After Reading, like,
dude, Big Lebowski. I mean,
it's like one of my favorites.
So many.
The Big Lebowski. Like finding things like 20 years later.
Dialogue in the scene when Javier Bardem is in the gas station.
Oh, the flip the coin.
Scene ever.
I mean, oh my god. I mean, and that
my heart
very scene.
Oh my god.
That's like such an amazing, like emotionally, like all.
I know what's gonna happen, and I am having an anxiety attack
every time. Every time you're just like, you're hanging.
And what's his name? The main character?
Chigurh.
Anton Chigurh.
Yeah,
that's his real
Talk
name.
about the villain.
No,
Javier Bardem.
Javier Bardem.
That guy.
Oh, okay, fucking
that haircut, dude. That haircut.
That haircut.
He's all.
Dude.
He's all.
Dude, to be scary.
I don't give a fuck haircut, bro.
That hairdo,
That's
bro.
frightening.
I think Joel should go full.
That fucking haircut.
Shouldn't Joel go full Bardem?
No party in the front, no party in the back.
Yeah, maybe I already am.
Coen brothers had no right.
Joel could come out on stage with a compression machine and shit too, like
just a nail gun. Just
I just imagine you with that haircut. You actually wouldn't look that bad, Joel.
No, the hat though has this like these kind of like bowl cut things going on, and now I'm totally bummed that I took my hat off.
Well, next time you go up to a,
I can see it with the headphones.
Me too, bro. He's got
That's why I have the red light, dude. I don't want to see my hair.
And he makes each guest clear their life every episode.
Holy shit! No, but to me though, that's like almost my top 2 performances of all time.
Ooh, that movie! It's just perfection. That movie.
I know, it's like
the choices all the way to the end. Without spoiling, if anybody hasn't seen, I mean, just that the way that they choose to end it, the way that they choose to end.
Oh my god!
That's certain characters.
He's all in his shoes, dude, on the way out, man.
Yeah,
oh my god!
He's all Big Lebowski, and then this. I'm like the brothers. I'm like, dude.
Oh my god, it's so good.
I gotta say, right? I was just about to. I was like, am I gonna bring it up, dude? Am I gonna bring it up? Because it feels like bragging. But I've met Joel. I've met Francis McDermott. They've been to my place of business. I have worked on their West Coast vehicle many times.
Anthony here owns a prestigious
automotive shop. Yeah.
Automotive shop.
Nice?
Repair shop. Yeah.
Are they nice or are they,
What's that?
Are they nice? Or are they nice?
Oh, very nice. Francis is very nice. They haven't been in. So backstory, we used to service a parking shuttle bus company that would take people to SFO right near the airport. And so they originally would park there, and then we started working on their vehicles while they would park. It was just their, when they're out in California, vehicle, they would plant vehicles throughout the United States. And so we had this thing parked at our shop for several months. And when they finally came to pick it up, they both came into the shop, and totally random for me, because I didn't know they were coming that day, but totally regular people. I'm not going to say what kind of car they had. Very regular person car. Like they didn't.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
And then that's probably what makes them make those movies, is they're very.
But Francis walked throughout the whole shop and greeted all of us, and I thought that was super cool.
That's cool.
And that was right before she just made her comeback and won
3 billboards.
Yeah.
Or,
I forget what what made her win all those awards, but she made her. Yeah, it was her comeback, and I was like, that's so crazy that she was just like totally humble and totally cool with us, and then I see her on the Oscars like a couple weeks later or whatever. Like, fuck, dude, this is crazy.
Just like Darren and Jeff are going to be these people. They are these people.
Yeah,
like
I know.
They started their first screenplay, jumped up, and they're doing bigger things later. And I'm so glad to like catch you now before you're fucking shitty ass celebrities. And
yeah, I think that Darren's always going to have that room, and
you guys will always.
We're always. We will always come back to the Cali Death podcast. That is
if you guys are like humongous, you guys just have to come back to this.
I think we should do this like once a week, dude. This is
I love it. I love it.
We're booked kind of far out, but
we're booked.
Say that
movies in all theaters, dude.
What?
No, I was like, we're booked, dude. We're booked, dude. Sorry, Darren, we can't do it. It's like we're booked. Sorry, I know you're in like all the theaters around America, but like we're all booked.
I didn't want to come off like that. I'm sorry.
We got like maybe you get like 600 views out of this.
I get to.
We have Spotify.
Actual when I
you guys
don't sweat it. Don't sweat it.
Anthony, Darren, and Jeff should get together for that you call it Lynch Minute, and then it's a 10-minute podcast. Where you guys start talking about Lynch and then it cuts off after 10 minutes, no matter what.
It'll usually be me in a fucking rant. at the
I'm
very
down.
end. No, dude, I would love that. There's so many. Darren, Jeff, you guys are fucking rad, and
that was
dude,
awesome.
I really wish we got into your musical past, but that's okay.
We can do
Next
another one.
Sets us up for a nice part 2.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah. And this was very enjoyable watching the movie, and very enjoyable getting to know you guys and knowing your process. This is exactly what I wanted this episode to be.
Me too.
That's cool.
Awesome.
Exactly.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
You guys are great dudes.
So much fun.
I texted Darren right away. I was like, dude, what the fuck? Like, I didn't know it was this good. I was like,
oh, your texts were hilarious.
Yeah. And I was like, dude, can I get like a guest ankle next time? I'm like, I'll do like just a foot in the scene.
Dude,
guest ankle, dude.
We will always need people to kill in our movies. That is for sure.
Dude, kill me anytime, dude. You've been
That
killing me
would
my
be
whole life.
so rad to be extras in the next one, dude.
Yeah.
Fuck
they
yeah,
had a
dude.
blast.
No, I'll pay you like $100 to like just to do it.
I'll pay you $200
Just
to get
stand there and just be like,
Joel, that's not going to even cover the craft service table. Like, come on, dude.
It's not even gonna cover your lunch, dude.
No, dude. Joel needs to
dude.
call a dude that catered his engagement party for craft services. Dude.
Oh yeah,
That's the
pretty
deal.
ridiculous. I know.
Congratulations there, Joel, by the way.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I'm joining the old
joining the old club there,
the
buddy.
club of hey, we got things on our fingers.
Hey,
Yeah, hey there.
Oh, nice.
Love
Hi,
and
I'm
metal on
committed.
the-
How
on
you
our
doing? I'm
hands.
committed too.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fucking
Dude.
rad. It's cool. It's awesome. I'm a little late to the party, but I'm
That was a
glad
great party.
my life's been great, and it's gonna end even better. I'm not and Jesus.
No, it's gonna end so good, dude. When you fucking die.
Oh no,
dude.
she's awesome, dude. No, she watched the movie with me and Carrie, and she was terrified. She was like,
She was so
like,
fucking
dude,
into
what-
it, you guys. Oh my
That's
god.
awesome.
She was sitting there going like, "What the fuck is going?"
Yeah, she was.
No, seriously, it was
She
like
was caught by the Retaliators.
Yeah.
She was fully
Oh.
caught. All right.
I'll end it with because I was kind of it was described as a grindhouse movie or something like that, like kind of like woo crazy stuff, and I like actually brought me in emotionally, and I was like, "You're bringing me in emotionally with this shit? This is like you're not supposed to bring me in emotionally with this. This is supposed to be funny and silly." And now I'm invested. Cool. Like I don't like that. I don't like that you're doing this to me right now. I was like, I was like, I want all this now. I want to watch the rest of it now. What the fuck?
That's
How
great.
does this end? I mean, it wasn't like a grindhouse blood easy next scene.
No,
it was like I was like, what happens?
I think we even conceived of it as this too. It's like we wanted to make a grindhouse film, but with like a real heart.
Yeah, I felt that immediately.
Yeah, and it does. Yeah,
it has a real. It's nothing's phony about the heart underneath.
Totally.
And you don't necessarily get that out of great grindhouse films. You know what I mean? So we felt we were doing something at least different from maybe the grindhouse films we were watching at the time. Like
that's awesome.
10 to Midnight. I don't know. I don't want to disparage that film at all because I love it a lot. But if you think about 10 to Midnight, it's like, what's the heart behind that? I don't,
No, you dare to disparage 10 to Midnight, first of all.
Maybe there is. Maybe I'm missing it off the top of my head, but
that's not really grindhouse.
Yeah, it's not quite grindhouse.
Same with you guys. It's not really grindhouse.
Yeah,
no, it's a left turn, dude.
Left turn. What we learned is the left turn. And
well, politically, why is it a left turn? I'm just kidding.
Stop.
Washington again.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Bro. Hey, bro.
Oh, yeah.
I'm wearing my Bud Light hat today. All right.
Kid Rock will be proud, brother.
But that's what Joel's just saying is what I mainly wanted to bring to the table was you start to think more than you're really expecting to think when you
you're putting your brains in Dumbville.
Yeah.
And then you get brought into Emotionalville, kind of like
sneaks
in. You're like, God damn it.
And now you have questions and answers that you yourself have to answer,
Yeah. That's smart. It's very good writing, guys.
You have to answer that to make any
Retaliators. in stores now, available on all VOD, also on Amazon Prime.
Dude, I want a Retaliators t-shirt. That logo is
I need to get one too, actually. I'm gonna go on the merch store.
do you guys do t-shirts? Can I get a Retaliators?
In the beginning, t-shirt? I brought this up.
Yeah, we've covered this. We're gonna check out the merch store. Everyone check out retaliators.movie.com and see what's up there.
Boom.
Thank you guys so much for hanging out. I fucking love you guys.
Let's do this real quick. Battleforgecoffee.com. Cali
I'm not gonna do the things.
CaliDeathPodcast.bigcartel.com. GeneratorRehearsalStudios.com. Lots of .coms. But dude, Darren, Jeff, really killer to meet you, dude. I really want to stay in touch with you guys. You guys are my kind of people for sure.
Likewise.
And Carrie, thanks for making this happen, dude.
Absolutely.
And thanks for being my resident homie tonight.
Thanks,
dude.
guys, for coming on. Love you guys. And you know what? Cali Death will be back.
Yes.
Next week.
Rocking and rolling.
Next week.
Yeah.
This is all. Yes, dudes. That was super cool.
Thank you guys for fucking hanging. That's awesome, dude.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
That was a ton of fun, man.
So Darren, one story I wanted to tell on the podcast was, what was the movie with you and RJ?
There was two.
There was two. Yeah. Which one?
It was on Carrie's wall my whole growing up.
Okay. So that was a movie called Shoeshine Boys.
Shoeshine Boys. So you guys came to the fireworks one year. You got I think it made, and I was like, had alcohol poisoning, was barfing in the toilet, and that's how I met RJ. I was like, oh dude,
oh shit.
Or I was like, Orange County, dude.
Yeah.
I can hear you guys.
That was insane. I was like, fuck, because I remember it's the first time in my life that I like got pretty drunk, and then someone was like, oh, here's a joint, dude, and I'm like, oh, a joint? Let me try this. I'm like, oh shit, and just went spiral down as like a high school person.
That's usually how it happens, dude.
Yeah, and it was.
You're already.
Artist said, what's up, dude? Can I piss, dude? I was like, oh, Orange County, Darren's in your movie.
hey, boys! It still says live in the corner. I'm just gonna point that out.
Oh, yeah, no.
Before.